Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of August 25th, 2025. Please be advised a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chambers by the Northwest door. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of silent meditation. Please remain standing if you are able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The order of business of City Council is as follows. The clerk will call items listed on the agenda under public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public addressing the council to identify themselves, the name of any organization represented by such person, and their address, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Each speaker should state whether they are speaking in favor or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item should come forward after the clerk reads that item and the applicant has presented. After public comments, the applicant may make one short rebuttal. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date nor planned for a future agenda. We ask that all speakers strive for civility and allow the business of council to proceed unimpeded. Will the clerk please call the first item of business?
Our first item of business today for the City Council meeting of Monday, August 25th is a reminder that due to Labor Day holiday, City Council will not meet on September 1st. Next then would be our consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and sections 3.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to, or excuse me, any member of staff would like to comment on any of the items on the consent agenda? Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on anything on the consent agenda? All right, Madam Clerk, please proceed.
We'll move on to section 4, our public hearing liquor resolutions. I'll call item 4A and 4B together. Item 4A and B is application of Sandy's Inc., doing business as Sandy's for a Class C liquor license located at 110 South 14th Street, and the related manager application of Michael Tucker.
All right, is the applicant here? If so, please come forward. All right, welcome.
Coming up.
No problem. There's microphones on either side there.
All right.
Yeah. Welcome. Go ahead and state your name for the record and then tell us a little bit about your application.
Michael Tucker. Been working for Sandy's and managing for over 30 years, and I had the opportunity to purchase it, so I decided to. It's too late in life to find another job.
All right.
I'm Donald Parrott. I'm just part owner. He needed credit, so I helped him out.
All right. Any questions from council? Councilman Weber.
Thank you. Yeah, well, and I just wanted to say congratulations. I think the establishment is quite an institution here in Lincoln. I get asked this by some relatives that aren't from Lincoln. Is it Elk Creek or Elk Crick? What's the proper?
Elk Creek.
Elk Creek. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. I get that a lot, so I just wanted to get it
But
clarified.
not to be confused with Elk Creek spring water.
Yes.
That's
very-
much more dangerous.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. I just had one question. I know that you've got your training down, but Mr. Parrott, it says that you'll be taking some training also, and I didn't see a date in
Yes.
the application.
October 9th. I just signed up for it today, so that's probably why you haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't magically just pop
Right.
in, but thank you so much.
But yeah, I signed up today.
All right.
Thanks.
Any other questions for council?
I got a question.
Councilman Duden.
Let's see, Mr. Tucker,
Yes.
have you been working or managing anything recently?
No, Sandy's been my sole job.
So How long,
I started in '87 as janitor and then worked up. I've been general manager for over 30 years. Exact number, I'm not sure.
how long have you been the general manager there?
Over 30 years. I guess I don't know the exact year.
Okay. You're not gonna be serving alcohol?
Not so much anymore. I'm down there, but I don't move behind the bar like I used to be able to, so I'm pretty much just there question answering, getting in the safe if needed, just overseeing still the day-to-day business of ordering, permits, everything that goes behind the scenes, payroll.
You have a valid driver's license?
I do.
That's all the questions I have.
All right. Any other questions? All right, appreciate it. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk? What? All right. Is there anyone else that'd like to comment on this application? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, please proceed.
I'll call items 4C through 4G together. Applications of Yard Investments LLC doing business as Gate 25, Yin Family LLC doing business as Hero 88, Homegrown Industries Lincoln doing business as Mellow Mushroom, Landshark Realty Group LLC doing business as Tanks Country and The Corner Bar for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 308 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street on September 6th, 13th, 20th, October 4th, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 12:30 a.m.
Was that all of them there?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, are the applicants here? If so, please come forward. Seeing none. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward. Yeah, council, any questions?
I had a question when I looked at this a couple days ago, but now the map is there.
Okay.
So now we have a map.
All right.
Great. I'm thrilled that they applied in tandem.
Sure.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, seeing no one else coming forward to talk about issues during this section of our agenda, I'd like to make a motion that we approve items 4A through 4G.
I'd second.
Second by Weber. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. That concludes section 4. I shall move on to section 5, public hearing resolutions. I'll call item 5A. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for August 1st through August 14th, 2025.
All right. Is there any member of the public who'd like to comment on claims against the city? If so, please come forward now. Anyone here for claims against the city? Please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
I'll call item 5B, approving a contract between the City of Lincoln and U Selected Holdings, Inc., doing business as Intelligent Dispensing Solutions for harm reduction dispensing machines for Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, bid number 25-058 for a 5-year term.
Welcome, Director.
Good afternoon, council members. Carrie Kernan, Health Director with the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, 3131 O Street. This contract is to purchase the harm reduction vending machines that I think I mentioned before city council members prior. We are able to, based on the request for proposal, purchase an additional 2, so we'll be able to get a total of 5. The products that will be in there, we're going to pilot these products, and we're working on the confirmation of the locations, but we'll include condoms, HIV take-home test kits, Plan B, pregnancy test kits, Narcan, feminine hygiene products, and first aid kits that we'll start with, and we certainly can add and change those based on the demographics that we're getting back. The locations that we're looking at are confirmed. We'll have one at the health department. There will be one at Union Plaza. We are exploring a location with Director Elliott at the transfer station, both at the temporary location as well as the permanent location. Maggie, Director Stuckey Ross has confirmed we can place one at F Street location. We'll be located to the south of the main entrance, and then we're looking at around 27th and Holdridge. All of these locations tied directly in with the data that we've looked at as far as STI rates, overdose rates, poverty, demographics, all of that. So those are really our high need areas. We will ask, I think, 3 questions as you come up to the vending machine. We'll ask you the zip code. We'll ask you your gender, and if you're housed or unhoused, just so that we can get a sense of the demographics that we're working with. We certainly can add more questions, but we don't want to inundate and cause that to be a barrier. But we need to get a little bit of data so that can drive where the vending machines are and the products that were in there. So we're purchasing. They will all be located for the most part outside. That way they are accessible 24/7. They're well lit. They're secure as far as the potential for vandalism, that type of a thing. These are very similar to the products that are sitting at Centerpoint and Matt Talbot that Nebraska Pharmacy Association is working with Region 5 and has the Narcan. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Councilwoman Washington?
Thank you, Chair Carlson. Director Kernan, I just have one question. So I like the idea of you're collecting some basic data when people come up to use the vending machines, but if they're unhoused, what will they get stopped by the zip code question?
No, and they could put a zip code for any one of the homeless locations, or the like Matt Talbot or the center or the Mission. They could put any of those zip codes in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And they're not required to answer all those 3. I think the zip code is the one that's probably the most predominant, but they still could tap in whatever they want. The way the vending machine works is that they have to enter the demographic data every time they want a product. So if they wanted 10 condoms, they would have to go in and enter that information 10 times. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Councilman Weber.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. Director, thank you so much. Just to clarify, so with this harm reduction machine, is there an option, say there's a need for Narcan, right? And it's fairly urgent. Is there an option to bypass, skip the questions to collect that data?
That's a good question. I'll have to double check on that. From the way I understand the machine's working, they have to enter at least one of those demographic informations. But that's a good question. Let me follow up and I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Director? Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there members of the public who would like to discuss this? If so, please come forward. Seeing none? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Welcome.
I'm Rosina Paolini, 1850 Dakota. I don't know you, but I applaud you. What a great program. My only concern, and I don't know the answer, which is why I'm asking the question. In the climate today, could we assign a number versus a name with an address? Because our shelterless population may be at risk. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. To answer that question, we don't ask any identifying information on individuals, so it's strictly confidential. We won't ask your name, your address, anything other than your zip code is the only identifier. Yeah.
Council, any other discussion? Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
I'll call item 5C, approving the First Amendment to contract for operation of a Keno-type lottery between the city and EHPV Lottery Services, LLC, to allow digital on-premises Keno lottery tickets.
Hello, welcome.
Good afternoon, City Council. I'm Joe Donlinger, 555 South 10th Street, here to talk about amendment to our contract for the Keno operations in the city of Lincoln. So this amendment changes the contract to allow digital on-premise wagers in addition to the crayon and paper wagers that are currently allowed. Couple points on it. This change was authorized by the Nebraska legislature in 2023, and it is subject to the approval of the governing board of the community, which is you. And as part of this process, you'll notice in the contract there's some new requirements for cybersecurity and insurance that were part of the due diligence of the city looking at this contract. With that, I've got Bill Harvey with EHPV Lottery Systems here to provide any additional details.
Thank you, Joe. My name is Bill Harvey, 11248 John Galt Boulevard in Omaha, and I'm general counsel for Big Red Keno and one of the owners. And number one, let me just say how much we appreciate the work of the finance department, the legal department, the city's IT department. It's really been a great collaborative process as we've worked over the last several months to develop. This is this is really an entirely new concept, and we found that it's really different than anything that they're doing that's being done nationwide. So we're very excited about this. When the legislature passed this 2 years ago, we immediately began working with a Nebraska company to develop the software for this product, and we've done a lot of internal testing. We've got all our locations now with just the city of Lincoln and the city of La Vista left are the locations that we have left. We just opened it last fall, so or last July. I'm sorry, this last month. So you're not that far behind. We're gonna get we want to get this going. We hope in September if we can do so. Basically, Joe I think described the product very well. But we're very happy to be doing this. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions, council? Appreciate it. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, we can proceed.
I'll call item 5D, appeal by Stacy Asher of Capital Environs Commission Certificate of Appropriateness for UDR Record 25071, removal and replacement of street trees along Goodhue Boulevard and the adjacent side streets within the Nebraska Capital Environs District.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Rick Hoppy, Mayor's Office, 555 South 10th, and with me is...
And I'm Maggie Stuckey Ross, Parks and Recreation, 3131 O Street. And Sonny, I might need your...
I think before we begin, the city attorney might want a moment of your time.
I think I know why.
Okay. Yep.
Hansi Christie, city attorney. And I think there's actually some information on the slide that I was going to touch on. It looks like I can see it. There you go. So I think I just kind of want to level set and explain, at the outset, just kind of explain a few things, how we got here. And this is the procedure and a brief explanation of how we got here. So you can see that this slide talks about the certificate of appropriateness and the process for that. You can see that it cites the code that references work subject to design review, and that it must go in front of the Capital Environs District, and that is what happened. And as you know, if we go to the next slide, thank you. As you know, the Capital Environs Commission unanimously approved the plan. Now, the plan that was presented to the Capital Environs group was a plan for both the tree removal and replanting of the trees. So the plan includes both, again, the tree removal and the replanting plan. An appeal was timely filed. I think we cite the section of the code and the language from the code that talks about the appeal process that is available. Again, it was timely filed. And I think the other thing why I'm up here is it's important to understand that this is what I like to call, you are hearing it anew. So this is similar to some of the other appeals that you see as examples from the Planning Commission. But again, you are hearing a new, so it is, you are making a new determination to either approve or deny the certificate of appropriateness for the plan, which again is the tree removal and replanting of the trees. So a vote yes will approve that plan. A vote no will deny that plan. So while it is an appeal, again, you are hearing it anew. A vote yes will approve the plan as presented, as recommended, as it's coming to you, and a vote no would be denying that plan as a whole. So, and I think if there are any questions, obviously I'm available at the end as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, so let's start off with why we're here today. From a process standpoint, we're here today to hear an appeal to the Capital Environs Commission decision to grant a certificate of appropriateness for changes to the Goodhue Boulevard area. From a more practical standpoint, we're here because we've had an appeal. There's some concerned citizens that love their community and really are concerned about the future of some trees. But I'd ask you all to take a step back and take a look at the big picture. Because why we're here is the importance of Goodhue Boulevard to the Capital Environs generally, and to the vision expressed by the architect at the state capitol, Bertram Goodhue, and what he saw as the vision for what this wall wanted to be. So today, in addition to hearing about the 29 trees slated to be removed, we're also going to talk about the 131 trees that we planted as part of this plan. So this is really a discussion about how to best protect the grandeur and beauty of Goodhue Boulevard for future generations so that they too can safely enjoy Goodhue's amazing vision of those scenic vistas leading to the state capitol. So that's what we think we're talking about today. I turn over to you, Maggie.
Okay, so Johansi outlined a little bit more of the framework for this appeal, but I just wanted to walk through how we got here. In 2024, August of 2024, our team conducted an assessment of the Goodhue trees and identified 29 trees along Goodhue that they felt were in need of removal. We went before the Capital Environs Commission on October 25th for a certificate of appropriateness. The vote was 3-2 in favor of the certificate, but it failed passage because it did require 4 votes. On November 14th, there was a neighborhood meeting at McPhee that several of you were in attendance at. And on December 12th, we withdrew the application to the Environs Commission. After a number of meetings, we felt like we needed to go back to the drawing board and communicate more with the neighborhood. We did not present a replanting plan last fall at Environs. At the time, there was still some outstanding issues regarding the realignment of the sidewalks in the area. And so that is just another point to reference that now we will be moving forward with both the removal and the replanting plan today. So what has changed?
All right, let's start with the sidewalk issue. There's a 1980s master plan on Goodhue Boulevard kind of floating out there in the world that suggested that the sidewalks be moved closer to the curb so that the street trees could be located outside of the sidewalk. Now the thinking was that would improve the views of the Capitol. However, we would tell you it's prohibitively expensive and would result in even greater tree loss than what we're talking about today. So ultimately, the city determined the cost and impact of relocating those sidewalks was not worth the benefit. So that decision allows us to move forward with a replanting plan. It's important to understand that if you are waiting for the day that money falls out of the sky and the city decides to redo the sidewalks and change that vista, we can engage in a replanting plan if that's on the horizon. And I think we've heard pretty clearly from the community that they want that replanting plan as part of what we're considering today. So getting that piece out of the way and deciding that we're not doing that 1980s master plan was really an important step forward in getting the replanting plan moved forward.
So what else has happened? There's been a real enhancement of the replanting plan. We took a broader look at the Capital Environs viewshed, which is from 14th to 16th and from A Street up to H Street. Actually, their environs do go south of A, but we're just stopping at A Street. We are proposing a total of 131 new trees as a part of this project. 55 of those trees will be planted on Goodhue proper. 76 of those trees will be planted on the adjacent streets. In addition, we've been working on financing a 4-year maintenance plan for all 131 trees. Basically, what this means is we're going to have a contractor on contract with us to take care of these trees during those first years of establishment. We know from our experience, those early years, watering, pruning, making sure that the trees are alive and that they're thriving, it's critical that we invest in those early years. Through this project, we're going to be able to invest 4 years of maintenance of these trees. It's a big deal. I wish we could do this all over the city with trees that we're planting. It's really going to make a difference and give them the best chance at survival. In addition, the Parks Department arborists completed track assessments and forms for all 29 of the identified trees. I believe those were part of the packets that were made available to you, counselors, and also to the public. And finally, we went back on July 25th to the Capital Environs Commission and did receive a 7-0 vote to approve that certificate of appropriateness for the removal and the replacement of the trees. So let's talk a little bit about the replanting plan. As Rick noted, we are recognizing the grandeur of this boulevard, and we agree that we really do need to reestablish those tree canopy vistas framing the Capitol. And that's why I asked our team to identify as many tree planting locations as possible on Goodhue and on those streets that feed into Goodhue. Again, 55 new trees will go on Goodhue, 76 will go on the adjacent street. So in 1 year's time, we will have a reestablished canopy starting along Goodhue and along those streets in the environs areas. We totally recognize it takes time for trees to grow, but we really believe in the old adage that the best day to plant a tree was yesterday, and that we are taking care of trees and planting trees that we might not enjoy the shade of, but future generations will. Design decisions for our replanting plan were guided by a lot of different requirements that our team is very familiar with and working within on a daily basis. First, the city's design standards for street trees. Of course, Transportation and Utilities Department has standards as it relates to sight distance at our intersections and at the intersections for alleyways. So those were kept in mind. And then also the Capital Environs South Mall Plan, which identifies certain expectations for trees that needed to go back in. Our tree spacing was done to maximize canopy and highlight that boulevard. Our tree placement, as Rick stated, will be between the curb and the sidewalk. We have made adjustments near the Capitol and near McPhee Elementary to preserve view sheds, and with some LPS work that they've done over there as well. Species variation is what we're doing everywhere. We are no longer a monoculture planting department. We always want to be planting diverse species so that the next EAB, whatever that pest might be, doesn't affect our community as it has. And finally, working with our utility partners on coordination with utilities. On the screen, we've identified species that we are hopeful that we will be able to plant as part of this project. Our trees will be selected from locally available overstory tree species appropriate for street tree use. Selections will prioritize diversity, climate resilience, mature form, and compatibility with the adjacent infrastructure. I already said avoiding monoculture, and really appreciate the opportunity to add this slide in particular to our conversation with Capital Environs, who asked for this species list specifically. So also in your packet today was the tree planting plan, and we have evaluated the boulevard on a block-by-block basis, again, guided by all the standards that I talked about. This means that every decision about tree planting was made with careful consideration of the unique conditions for that space and the needs of each block. We are taking into account existing tree species along the boulevard to ensure that the new plantings complement and enhance the current tree canopy, but we've also built in flexibility so we can adapt our choices as conditions change. If you were looking at a full map here, the Capitol would be at the top of the screen. H Street is that on-street parking on the south side of the Capitol. The Governor's Mansion is in the upper left. So moving from north to south here, the dark green trees indicate new trees that are going to be planted. On Goodhue proper, the pink shapes indicate new trees that will be planted on the side streets within the environs. And then the outline of the trees, which you can kind of see here at the intersection, that represents trees to be removed. So this first slide is H to G and getting a little further south towards F. I'll point out that a lot of these side street trees are being planted in areas that have been missing trees for a long time. As you know, most of our street trees are planted through our street tree voucher program. In a lot of these areas, after a tree removal happened, we are reliant on residents and property owners to work with the department to get a tree in the ground. And it's a really great opportunity through this project to get some of those trees reestablished throughout the environs. Continuing to move south, we're now on the D Street block. I'll point out this 14th to Goodhue along D Street. There are, I believe, 8 trees that are identified for this block in particular with only 1 removal. So it's going to be a real noticeable difference when we get these trees in the ground. So I also just want to emphasize here as we approach A Street that the planting plan is still marked draft. I've noted a couple times that the species have not been yet identified tree by tree. This will really be dependent on contractor availability and what we're able to procure. I should note that the Goodhue trees, the 55 trees on Goodhue, we'd like to plant yet this fall, and the 76 trees on the side streets we're hoping to plant in the spring. So this planting plan is what we intend to follow. Of course, once we're on site, there might be some minor deviations depending on what we see in the field. But again, based on what we know now, this is the planting plan. And finally, that's the A Street block.
Okay, so what are we trying to figure out with these assessments? I'd like to give you a little information from the layperson's perspective, and I'm the perfect person for that because there are a bunch of tree people here who can do it better than I can probably, but I'm confident I can speak in the language of the council. It's important to note, well, I should back up and say, one day we were having a staff meeting in my crankiest chief of staff voice. I turned to Riley on our staff and said, are the trees dead or not? Well, that turns out not to be the question I should have been asking, because that's not necessarily all that we're taking a look at. Certainly the health of the tree is important, but the risk of failure and the potential for that risk of failure causing damage to property or hurting a person is actually what you're trying to measure in the situation. So my question was a little bit off. And it's important to also note that the risk of failure has kind of a context to it. So, for instance, let's say you have a family farm out there in the middle of nowhere, and you've got a 110-year-old tree that your grandfather planted decades ago, and it's not in good health. Well, even if it's not in good health, you may leave it standing because if it does topple over or a branch does fall, there isn't property or people who are at risk. Now, think about that context in Rick's backyard in South Lincoln. You can take strategies as a homeowner to mitigate against those potential risks. So I can tell my 7-year-old granddaughter Harper, stay away from playing under the tree. I can fence off the area around the tree to keep my son's dog Albert from getting underneath it. I can move the patio furniture so if a branch comes down, it doesn't take it out. And I can just accept the fact that the very ancient fence around our backyard, if it comes down, it is what it is. The point being that the homeowner can make some choices to mitigate that risk. But when you substitute that, when you take that context to an urban tree canopy, the situation changes a bit. Now keep in mind, by definition, urban means dense. And if you go down Goodhue Boulevard, you note a lot of multifamily dwellings. There are cars lining both sides of the street for the residents who live there. We can't view it in the same way the homeowner views it. We can't close sidewalks indefinitely. We can't close streets indefinitely. We can only take really limited action to mitigate any potential problem that might arise from a tree that has poor health. So it's important to keep that in mind, that the actions we take are not the same actions that an arborist might recommend for a homeowner or for a different situation. We have to be mindful and cognizant of the fact that in these dense areas, we have a lot of liability on the city's part for the types of things that we're talking about today.
So let's talk about TRAC assessments. So TRAC is an acronym. It stands for Tree Risk Assessment Qualification. This is a process that's developed by the International Society of Arboriculture, the ISA. It is a standardized process to evaluate tree risk to people and property. Our arborists become track qualified, and in order to be track qualified, you must meet specific eligibility requirements, successfully complete the course, and a 2-part exam about tree biology and mechanics, risk assessment processes, mitigation options, and reporting practices. The purpose of a track assessment is to identify and assess tree structural defects or health issues. This is a science-based evaluation of the likelihood of failure and potential impact of that failure. We use this process to support informed and transparent decision-making about tree maintenance and removal, and also promote public safety and tree preservation. So we did level 2 track assessments on these 29 trees following the Capitol Environs Commission hearing last fall. So what does that involve? It involves a site visit by a track qualified arborist, a visual inspection of the tree health, the tree structure, and the surroundings in that particular situation. There is a rating system for the likelihood of failure and the consequences of that failure. And there's also mitigation recommendations, again, for each one of those trees. I would just point out that these assessments were done between June and July of this year. It took around 75 hours for our department staff to complete these 29 track assessments. So just highlighting, we have dedicated significant city resources to these trees over the past year, while also keeping up with storm response after several significant weather events that continue to occur, one August 9th, since we were even at the commission. So in their professional judgment, all 29 of the trees continue to decline, and our experts expect those trees will continue to deteriorate at a rapid pace. We believe we are past the point of watering and pruning to nurse a particular tree back to health, and all 29 trees are actively participating in the mortality spiral and need to come down. So given our team's documented assessments, the city is now on notice that these trees are dangerous. The city has already paid claims for tree failures on Goodhue during the past year. I believe some of those have come before you. If the trees remain, we can expect to receive more claims, and the city will have to pay those claims. That's why we're before you today, to seek a certificate of appropriateness for the removal of these 29 trees, and again for a replanting plan that replaces these trees on a 1-to-4 basis. So again, we conducted these assessments back in August of 2024 and again in June and July of 2025. So what did we notice? Most notably, significant decline since last fall's assessment. I specifically asked our team if any of the trees had improved since last fall, or at a minimum, has the condition remained stable? Their response was no and no. The trees continue to deteriorate. What really captured it for me was one of our staff members who said each of these trees, again, is actively participating in that mortality spiral. More specifically, our arborists documented new signs of hypoxylin canker. Hypoxylin canker has a very heavy presence in this part of Lincoln and southeast Nebraska. It's an underlying fungus that causes canker to spread very easily from tree to tree, causing new infections. Symptoms include the yellowing of leaves, branch dieback, thinning canopy. Community Forestry documented these symptoms in several of the Goodhue trees, and based on our experts, we are going to continue to see hypoxylin canker spread on Goodhue. We've also noticed more conchs, indicating fungal decay, enhanced yellowing and cupping of leaves, and as you can see for yourself on the forms, which I hope you've had a chance to review, many other defects and conditions that affect a tree's likelihood of failure. We're not going to walk through every tree today. Again, you have those track forms in your packet, but I do want to highlight a few specific defects and notes on conditions that we found. This is 901 Goodhue. This pin oak tree is experiencing significant internal decay. The vertical crack and open wound suggests portions of the cambium layer of the tree is dead. Here at 1116 Goodhue, this photo is confirming active internal decay. Healthy trees will attempt to seal off points of damage. In this case, the decay is outpacing the tree's ability to compartmentalize the wound. Here at 1144 Goodhue, this image shows dark areas at the root flare, which indicates internal decay and root rot. The swollen appearance is likely a response to that internal decay, and we'd like to point out that root decay is one of the most unpredictable failure modes. Here at 1443 D Street, we're seeing signs of significant conchs and mushrooms. This is another sign of root rot, meaning fungus has been actively feeding on the internal wood and it's weakening the tree's internal structural core. This decay is undermining the tree's anchoring system to the ground. Here at 1501 D Street, this image is showing a significantly unbalanced crown with approximately 60% of the crown dead. The remaining branches are showing signs of chlorosis or yellowing of the leaves, which indicates a significant nutrient deficiency. 1436 E Street is one of the 5 silver maples that are on the list. This silver maple image is showing a cavity up the trunk that indicates internal decay, especially since the silver maple species is already prone to having weak wood. This particular tree also has had previous limb failures causing property damage. And finally, 1448 E Street, this image of a pin oak at the base is showing a decay fungus, which is likely a white rot of the roots and the lower trunk. So for each of these trees, our community forestry professionals considered all of the mitigation options short of removal, such as those outlined on this slide. They consider these alternatives with every assessment that they do, including here on Goodhue. So I also want to note that when we're conducting our track assessments, my team is very conservative. We don't want to cut down trees. We want to save trees. Our goal is to build and sustain the urban canopy, and our conservative approach reinforces that mitigation should always be considered before a tree is identified for removal. Several interested community members have asked specifically about pruning these trees. Quite simply, these trees are not at a stage where pruning would be helpful. Pruning would most likely have the opposite effect. Most of these are very large trees already under considerable stress. We know that from the track assessments, and pruning would cause another stressor for the trees of this size, leaving large tree wounds, expediting their decline. In short, these trees are failing, and pruning is not going to stop that process. Again, as you all know, sitting up here and being part of the claims process, these trees have experienced repeated failures already. We've responded to 24 calls related to failing trees and failing branches along Goodhue over the last year and a half. The city has already paid 2 claims related to Goodhue, and we have 1 pending claim. Earlier this summer, we received a complaint from the individual whose truck was crushed by a falling tree, as shown on this slide. And after the August 9th storm, we had a report that a limb had again hit a car. We have yet to see that claim, but expect it will be coming. In the last year, we have heard from folks who live along Goodhue, people who have called us asking for help when these public street trees in front of their house is causing a potential threat to their property and asking why we have not removed it. Their voices have not been the loudest voices, but we can't overlook them. And I would point, I believe in the packet, to a letter from a property owner that was submitted to the Journal-Star earlier this summer. And I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Hoppy.
Sure. And in conclusion, thank you so much for your attention to this matter. We really appreciate the time and effort that has gone into it. I think a couple of things in conclusion that we want to emphasize. One is, and Maggie alluded to this a little bit, the Parks and Recreation Department does not go looking for trees to cut down. The members, the arborists of the community forestry team have devoted their professional careers to saving and preserving trees. I can assure you that if removal is a recommendation, it is the action of absolute last resort, and why we need to respect their opinions. I also want to point out the extensive amount of staff time and city resources have gone into this effort. You had multiple people from Parks and Recreation, the mayor's office, planning, city law, Lincoln Transportation Utilities, all working on this to get to this point today. We presented at multiple neighborhood and community meetings. This is the second public hearing that has been put in front of you. We've listened, we've responded, and we can't accommodate every request, particularly when public safety is at issue, and particularly when taxpayer dollars are at issue because of the liability these trees present. So you can understand or know that Maggie's team has done all they can to take that feedback into account when making their recommendations. We've been working on this for nearly a full year. I think the recent August storm highlights again the significant responsibility our community forestry program has in managing the urban canopy that Lincoln enjoys. There's work across the city that needs to happen, and we'd ask you to remember that it's time to move forward on Goodhue and allow us to get to conclusion. And moving forward on the certificate of appropriateness today would allow that to happen. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Council, any questions? Tom?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Maggie, when they come across maybe a sidewalk area that's already been damaged, will they replace that sidewalk?
Define they.
I'll just do the city.
So I just want to clarify, Tom, you're asking if we're out there removing a tree and there is a damaged sidewalk near
Yes.
that. We're in partnership with LTU on all of our projects, so that would be reported immediately to LTU for taking care of that.
Then my next question is there a specific diameter that we're looking for on the trees that we're replacing, that we're using to plant? So we don't end up with a tiny one here and a bigger one here, and that sort of thing?
I will answer that in two ways. One, the minimum DBH, which is the diameter of the tree, it needs to be at least 1.5 inches to meet our requirements for street trees. But I will say that we're looking at a diverse age of trees to put in so that not all the trees are the same age and the same height, so they're growing at different rates. So 1.5 inches is the lowest. I don't know if I have a top range. We know that the older a tree is, the harder it is to reestablish when you're moving it from its original planted location to a street like this. So I'll let the tree experts take that on, but it will be a diverse range. 1.5 is the minimum.
Isn't that 1.5 inches the guideline for all trees parked between, or planted between sidewalk and curb?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. Director Stuckey Ross, first, thank you, and Mr. Hoppy for your presentation. I'm gonna, there's no order to this, but as you were giving your presentation about the trees planted not on Goodhue but adjacent, and you showed them in pink running basically perpendicular to Goodhue, it dawned on me, because I think Mr. Hoppy had said that there hadn't been trees in some of those locations. This is replacing a tree that had come down a number of years ago. Will those be city street trees?
Yes, they will.
Okay, so they'll be owned by the city. The city will be responsible for maintaining those trees. They won't become boundary trees.
That is correct.
Okay, that's good to know. And then I'm assuming that all the trees that are planted along Goodhue are also street trees maintained by the city for their life.
That is correct.
Okay, that's great. You mentioned initially when you came forward that we were talking about a capital environs plan for Goodhue Boulevard that dated back to somewhere in the 80s.
Yes.
And that the city has asked Capital Environs to set aside the sidewalk plan that had the sidewalks moving closer to the curb. What parts of the Goodhue Boulevard plan remain? Like that we'd have to be paying attention to. So the sidewalk won't move, but we will still be looking at a canopy to match the canopy that the
That might be a better question for Mr. Carey, who is making his way to the podium as we speak.
canning. All right, perfect.
Good evening, David Carey, Director of the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street.
Hello, Director. So recognizing that there's also a plan here for sort of historic preservation of landscape, maybe light, but they have a plan here. What other parts of the capital environs plan for Goodhue remain, even if the sidewalks portion, we've said, no, we're not going to move our sidewalks?
So let's just make sure I understand the question. So remain to be done, or?
Yeah, like what other, I mean, these are sort of soft rules or guidance to say, when we're looking at Goodhue Boulevard and the capital environs cares what's happening there, we're going to maintain the canopy of trees, so we're going to provide that. But the sidewalks, we said no to. And I'm just curious, is there any other feature that the city should be paying attention to along Goodhue?
Okay, got it. No, I think the proposed replanting plan is really taking into account those concerns that the capital environs basically has with the idea of removing so many trees at once. I mean, that is the reason why it went before the Capital Environments Commission, because there was an impact on that view of the Capitol. So I would say that what's before you today is taking all that into account, sans the relocation of the sidewalks.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Then I think my other questions are for back on trees for Director
Okay.
Stuckey Ross. Thank you. Really appreciate that you're planting 4 to 1, or you're proposing to plant 4 to 1. You mentioned that the trees won't just be 1.5 DBH, that they'll be larger and they'll be different ages, and I know there's different species. I am curious, is the goal to have a multi-level canopy or to have the canopy arch all at the same height?
It will be multi-level, and that goes back to the Capital Environs South Mall Plan as well. It dictates both overstory and understory, again, with the focus on the view shed. So we are taking all of those factors into consideration.
Right, I really appreciate that. Oh, the contracted maintenance, that does sound unusual and good. So a 4-year contracted maintenance. Is there anywhere else where we've done contracted maintenance on planted trees, besides park staff taking care of it?
Yes, we have done, we have a couple examples of projects that we've done most recently in Air Park. We did a street tree planting project as part of a grant. And with that project, we had a 2-year maintenance contract, which again provided for watering of those trees, structural pruning of those trees, and generally keeping an eye on them in those first 2 years of establishment. It went really well. I can get you the numbers about survivability, but we were very impressed and very appreciative as well. Obviously, when we put the investment of a tree in the ground, giving it its best chance to survive is a no-brainer. So to be able to do that for 4 years is a real game changer in our mind.
And will that be for all the trees that are planted?
It will be for all 131 trees, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Councilman Cho.
Thank you, Ms. Stuckey Ross, for coming forward. Springboarding from Councilwoman Washington's comment about contractors. You said in your testimony that you hope to remove and replant all the trees on Goodhue this fall.
That's correct.
Will that be done by your staff, our urbanists in the city, or will you be out using outside contractors? And when does the fall end or begin? Winter, we have winter in Nebraska.
We do have winter. This will, because of the nature of this, the size of the trees, we don't have the equipment within our department to handle trees of this size.
I really should have said if we approve this today. I wish I'd said that before I started.
Sure.
If
Yep.
we approve this today.
I understand. So should we move forward with this, it would go out for bid because of the size and the cost that would be associated with it. So we would work with our purchasing department and give local contractors the opportunity to bid on it. The goal would be to have all of the removals completed so planting could be done before the ground freezes. And so moving target, ideally we have trees in the ground by the first week of November, first or second week of November. That would be an ideal scenario. We don't want to, again, give these trees any reason to not do well. So in our minds, that's how this goes. But of course, we're happy to have a conversation about that with you all.
Thank you. That was my question, Mr. Thank you.
Great. Other questions?
Procedure, one thing I meant to say at the outset, just to make clear, the City of Lincoln Parks and Rec Department is the applicant, and that is why they presented. While it's coming at you in a different way, you've actually seen these appeals before, and so I think how normally the applicant will present, and then the appellant, it might make sense to ask them to come up. The Stacy Asher filed the appeal, and then move on to public comment. I think that's how the council has handled it in the past, and then usually the applicant, I think, has always been provided an opportunity to respond. So I meant to say that at the outset. So
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions for Director Stuckey Ross? And thank you. All right, is the appellant Stacy Asher present and interested in making a comment? If so, please come forward. Welcome, and you can go on either side here. There's two mics. Hi.
Hello, thank you for your time. I'm terrified of speaking here today.
Sure. If you want to just start with your name and address, too.
Yes, sir. My name is Stacy Asher, and I'm at 835 Goodhue Boulevard.
Great.
So I'm here today to express my deep concern regarding the recent decision to approve the removal of 29 trees along Goodhue Boulevard. This includes a majestic and healthy pin oak at the corner of Goodhue and F. As a longtime resident of the historic Narayana building, I know firsthand the importance of this tree. In the 12 years I've lived there, it has shaded the building, absorbed stormwater, provide habitat for birds and pollinators, and brought seasonal beauty and ecological richness to the street. It not only enhances the beauty of the boulevard, but also plays a crucial role in making the neighborhood livable and comfortable for its residents. The tree I am here to defend is very much alive and valuable. Its shade has directly reduced utility costs in my home, helping to keep indoor temperatures manageable as summers grow hotter and energy bills rise. Cutting down all 29, averaging 5 per block, is extreme and will violently alter the ecology, aesthetics, and sense of peace these large trees bring to the neighborhood. Protecting and caring for trees deemed low risk is a good investment, as they will be companions and support for the new 131 plantings the city proposes. The removal of all 29 will remove the canopy, making it more difficult for new plantings to thrive. 12 years ago, 3 tiny chinkapin oaks were planted, and today they are thriving thanks to the support and shade of the grandfather oak that is proposed to be cut down. The recent storm earlier this month with about 95-mile-an-hour winds, the tree I am defending didn't flinch. Many trees throughout the city that were healthy and younger and were not assessed as being a risk have fallen. Why not seek out and look for the most 29 at-risk trees in Lincoln and start there instead? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there members of the public that would like to comment on this issue? If so, please come forward now. And we do have 2 microphones. If there's multiple speakers, feel free to come on up. And
I think you had a list back there. Would you like it?
No, you can just.
Super duper.
Thank you for offering, but go ahead. Sure. Yeah, just as far as rules of council, there's a 5-minute time limit, and the clerk will keep that here for you too. We'll give you a warning then when that's coming up. And you do need to keep it to this particular issue, your comments to this particular issue. So,
Thanks for being here. Good to see you. I'm Rosina Paolini, 1850 Dakota. So I want to address the cause. LPR brings about projects that are donor projects without vetting them before the public first. A few examples. Goodhue the first time around, 1986 is when this all started. Then Goodhue now. Van Dorn, the Botanical Gardens was the proposal. The tennis court, tennis was the proposal. It seems to cost the city a lot because we have a few meetings, opposition, appeals, and then some kind of a result. So remembering that this is for a view, we're leveling 29 trees for a view. How do we improve the consistent outreach to the public so that we, collectively, our community, can advocate for those who can't be here, right? We're talking about the Goodhue neighborhood. I lived at 1435 C Street. $175 back there in 1979, right? And it's still kind of the place where people can afford to live, sort of. They might have a room air conditioner, right? We don't have central air generally in those areas. So when we don't notify the people that it affects, then we rely on advocates from the community to try to advocate for the situation, which is why I'm here. I used to live there. I get what it is to have a 90-degree day with one room air conditioner in a one-bedroom apartment. I remember. Let's talk about the cost, because I think Rick nailed it on the head. What does it cost the taxpayers? Well, it cost $2 million in cleanup for the last round, 1.2 estimated for LPR. We didn't talk about LPD, we didn't talk about LTU, we didn't talk about LFR with their increased cost to just service calls, right? That was our last storm. Those, I mean, I rode the area. They're street trees. They're street trees, and they cost that much damage just in the last storm. So I think we have a bigger problem than 29 trees on Goodhue. I will make the point, though, that if we're going to show demonstrations of how the schematic will look, we should probably put sticks in the ground versus full-grown trees, just to be fair. But let's go back to the maintenance. 4 years is a good start. When we had a pruning cycle, we really didn't need that because we had systematic pruning and maintenance throughout the life of the tree. Rick, you'll remember, David Carey will remember when we started cutting from 4-year pruning cycles to 16-year pruning cycles, 32, and then it got eliminated. Don't know why, didn't catch that one. So really, we need to reinstate a pruning cycle that is done by the city. Yes, it costs money, but if we keep having storms that are 95 miles an hour, and we have little trees versus the big oak, right, causing damage, I mean, that's like a systematic issue. So we need to reinstate maintenance and pruning on all of the trees in Lincoln. I know, it's a tight year, I get it. But I am thinking not short-sightedly, but long-term. The other cost is waste removal. So the guy that picks up my trash, like I burn my stuff when I can, but they're picking up stuff all along the road, right? So that costs us, the consumer, because he's now making more trips to the dump or to the wherever. He's using more gas, right? And so it will cost the consumer down the line each storm that we have that causes street tree damage. Did that make sense? So I'm saying that these costs are like pretty evident in several different areas, and they all affect we, the taxpayer. The other cost is the energy costs are going to go up when you have clear-cut 29 trees in the poorest, one of the poorest sections of town.
That is 5 minutes if you want to wrap up
Thank you.
quickly.
So we need to be aware of who we are impacting, okay? I think we really hit on the investment, long-term investment. Some of you remember Cecil Stewart. I would really think about the real price versus the immediate price. What is the real price of not pruning and maintaining all of the city trees throughout? What questions do you have?
And that's time there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other members of the public that would like to comment? If so, please come forward now. Welcome.
Hello there. There's probably a lot better informed people here that will speak after me, but I have limited time this evening, so thank you for hearing me out. I would just like to
Interrupt you, sir.
I'm
We'll
sorry.
have you just begin with your name and address then.
Thank you so
first.
much. I'm
That's all
sorry.
right. No problem. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. My name is Micah Lemer, and I live at 1745 South 11th Street here in Lincoln. So I would just like to maybe talk about the narrative, the way it's been presented, and maybe add what I feel has been a little bit that's left out. Right, so we had this 40-year-old plan that that was in place for the Capital Environs Committee, and it was not really well thought out, or at least didn't. A lot of some of the issues, like where the sidewalks would move, eventually in the last meetings they realized like the plan wasn't even really legal as far as moving sidewalks up to like modern standards for disabilities and things like this. So that was one of the reasons why that had to come out of there. But there was a miscommunication, I feel like, going on for a long time, where for the past 20 years, they should have been potentially removing some of these trees and planting new trees. So, and that's what people would have liked. But now there's this idea to do them all at once, right? And why is that? Because this plan had to be enacted and the sidewalks had to be moved, and there was this convoluted thing going on. And so a lot of the worst trees were presented, and certainly they didn't show pictures of the better trees, or, you know, I mean, my understanding from earlier meetings was that some of these trees are assessed to be at risk within the next 10 years or something like this. Not like many of them are not necessarily immediate risks. And I'm not an expert on these trees, but in an ideal situation, you would be able to phase them out. But the reason why they're all being removed at once is not purely because of safety, which is, of course, a concern. And of course, we want some of these trees removed and replaced, but we want it phased rather than done all at once. There is money, of course, to be saved by removing them all at once. And this was mentioned during the Capital Environs Committee meetings, but not mentioned today. So that's part of the narrative that I think is left out. And it's a reasonable concern, but it still should be presented to you that that is part of the motivation, right? That it's cheaper to remove all these trees at once rather than that there are immediate safety concerns for all of these trees. So, I mean, that's a real concern, but it's also just swept under the rug. So I think that there was a difficulty with the Capital Environs Committee knowing what their role was with this plan also. Many of them didn't know that they were responsible for the plan. They also didn't know how many votes it took to pass a measure. I found that frustrating when we were discussing this before them. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm sorry that I'm a little convoluted, but I just wanted to bring up that it was more complicated. Thank you very much.
Are there others who would like to comment? If so, please come forward now. And again, we do have 2 microphones. You're welcome to come up 2 at a time, and usually the most efficient way to do it. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you, Council. Graham Herbst, 8122 Camden Avenue in Omaha. I am a tree risk assessment qualified, board certified master arborist. I don't know how useful my comments will be for you guys today. I did want to share, though, I feel like I'm really straddling the fence and in support of both sides of this measure. I had some comments prepared. I don't think it's very useful to nitpick the process of the tree risk assessments as I understand them. I'm largely in favor of most of these trees coming out. Most of them are in very bad shape and pose a risk to the public that's probably been neglected for some amount of time. But I also, as the previous gentleman mentioned, am in support of not only species diversity, but age diversity. It's important that we have a succession of trees planting throughout the community so that these new trees that are going to be planted on Goodhue are not all coming into states of overmaturity and decline at the same time, the way otherwise we're just repeating the same mistake that we have in place right now. But otherwise, I think that making perfect the enemy of good is usually unproductive, and I think that the species diverse approach to replanting Goodhue and addressing risk is largely a good one. So I'm not seeing the age diversity that we'd like to see, but that's, forestry and tree planting is a long-term approach, and we're not often, we don't always have the benefit of long-term thinking with election cycles and changes in priority and that sort of thing. So I think that for the most part, what's going on in Goodhue is a good thing. It could have been better with more foresight years ago, but we have to carry on with the situation that we have today. I did take a look at Goodhue a little bit before I was here today, spoke to a couple people that had perfectly healthy pin oaks and red oaks outside their home. But as I mentioned before, I would imagine if I were to do a thorough review of the proposed removals that I would agree with the vast majority of those coming down soon. I'd welcome any questions that any of you have.
Thank you.
I have a
go
question.
ahead.
Chair Council, thank you. I didn't catch your last name, Mr. Graham.
Herbst, Herbst.
Herbst, thank you. I understand, I agree with you about multi-species, multi-age. Do you have a recommendation for how to space the ages out?
Well, putting a few in every year. I recommend to communities that planting a few trees every year and chipping away at that large task over a long period of time is usually preferable to planting a lot of trees all at one time. For smaller communities that I work with, that's not only beneficial for this age diversity that I mentioned, but also we're not having so many to water all at one time. And so those smaller communities with limited resources and working with volunteers, often they're able to more successfully keep a vibrant and resilient urban forest going that way rather than wholesale in large projects all at once.
And you would recommend that as opposed to 1.5 inch DBH or a 3 inch DBH there's some age variety there. I recognize but they're both being planted at the same time.
Yeah, and the species diversity that's being proposed is going to provide for some different growth rates, as the director mentioned, and so there is some nuance and diversity that comes about that way as well. So it's not just everything planted all at once is going to get the same height at the same rate. So that does help.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Isaac Rumbold. Actually, I think this one's taller. Getting the hang of this. 1805 Perkins Boulevard. I just came today because I wanted to help out some friends who were testifying on this matter. What I wanted to contribute, I've been a public servant for about 16 years, so I kind of wanted to see kind of what I've seen about the process regarding this whole item on the agenda. From what I've seen and what I've heard, it kind of came up unexpectedly to the Environs Commission. And it's kind of grown and grown and got bigger and bigger. More voices have gotten brought into this, and there's a lot more opinions and a lot more ideas and thoughts. Part of what my job was, I worked in floodplain division, and we had a required public outreach process. So I did a lot of those, and it's kind of an important part to do before you go forward on a project. I've worked in the government. I know there's not always a compromise, but in this case, I think there's definitely some compromises out there that could be had. I've seen a lot of reasonable requests, reducing the total number of tree removals. I live pretty nearby, so I've seen there are some trees that to me look fairly healthy. I've got an environmental science degree, so I know at least about tree crowns and stuff, but I'm not an arborist, but some of them look pretty good. Some of them definitely don't look so good. And some other things like trimming's been brought up, And yeah, elongating the removal of the trees, so maybe removing some of the worst ones and replanting those. Then as you move on, removing some of the kind of less dangerous ones, or eventually removing healthy trees maybe 5 to 10 years down the road, so that there's some time for those small trees that are being replanted to get established. But yeah, like I said, so process. So the plan for this, to kind of kick this all off, is I believe 1980s, which was about when the flood maps that I was remapping were considered extremely outdated. I think, like, especially for something where there's a plan being used, using a 50-year-old plan is a little bit outdated, and there should have been more of a public outreach process. I know there's been some public outreach since that initial Environs Committee meeting, and now, like we've mentioned, there's been a lot of, this has been brought up before City Council, I think the second time they said, but, so yeah, I mean, this is also in a historic neighborhood with a lot of very active neighborhood associations, a lot of active people, a lot of people who are very passionate about trees. So, I mean, public outreach should be important everywhere, but I definitely feel like it was kind of lacking a bit for this particular one, at least at the initial stages. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Karina McCormick, 1502E, which is the corner of E and Goodhue. So one of the trees that will come down under this plan is right outside my window. And I've definitely enjoyed that tree being there to help with cooling. I didn't have central air until this summer. And it was remarkably cool all summer in my apartment, except for the very hottest days, thanks to that tree. And if it comes down, like with all the other people in my neighborhood, they're going to lose that. And I don't think that that should be understated, like how impactful that's going to be to people's energy costs. But also just the impact on how the look and feel of the neighborhood is going to change dramatically with the decimation of the canopy. And I don't think Capital Environs really did their job in considering the look and feel change of taking down all 29 trees at once instead of a phased approach as has been recommended. I feel that the map that was shown about the replanting plan is misleading because it shows full-size trees. They're not going to be that size to create canopy for 20 or 30 years. So that's a map way in the future, what you're looking at, not a map of any time soon. So yeah, you look at that map and you think, oh, this looks nice. They're going to replace them. But that is far in the future that they'll actually be fully replaced. You can't just swap out these 100-year-old trees for a new planting and expect it to be at all the same. So I feel that that's something that's been missed in this plan as well. The impact to nature hasn't been fully understood with all the animals that live in the trees and use them for food and shelter. In the recent storm, these trees actually did great. They said that there was one claim, but for the whole street, that's not that bad with how many trees there are. These are not the worst 29 trees in Lincoln, as somebody else said. Not by far, and it's not fair that because there happens to be this many old trees in one place that they're being targeted for removal just because they happen to be all in one location when they're not the worst trees. We should remove the worst trees, but some of these are still healthy enough that they should stay up. I understand that there are some, as particularly bad ones, maybe the ones that she showed you, but she didn't show you all 29. So I would just really advocate a more measured approach where only some of the trees are removed. And you can start replanting while you wait to take down the others. So that's what I think it would be a better plan.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Hi there. Good evening to all the members of the Lincoln City Council and to the representatives from Lincoln Parks and Recreation as well. My name is Kirsten Wandry, spelled KirstenWandrey, and I live at 843 Goodhue Boulevard. And yeah, I just want to start off by saying thank you for taking the time to speak with all of us in the community today and for allowing open room for public comment. I just want to reiterate my support for a more staggered approach than the plan that we are currently discussing, which has been proposed. I would ask that the members of the City Council please vote no on the approval of this plan so we can go back and just maybe stagger it out a little bit more, add some room for some compromise, some moderation. There are 3 low-risk trees that are included in the proposal that were deemed low-risk by the city arborists, but they are still being recommended for complete removal. They're really big trees. I happen to live in the Noriana building, which is right by the large oak tree that Stacy was talking about. And yeah, it did great in the storm, did not lose any major limbs. It's very strong and healthy. Like others have mentioned, it adds real energy cost savings for the building. It shades the younger trees around it. So if that one was cut down, you know, the little trees need the big trees to grow and vice versa. So it's all part of an ecosystem, and blighting the landscape on that specific street block would not do anything to aid the progress of new and younger trees. So yeah, I would just like to urge everyone to show good faith to community residents, to show a true spirit for compromise. Please just remove the low-risk trees from this plan. That would be a huge help. And like others mentioned, who have a little bit more expertise in the areas of arborism than I do, it would help with staggering out those removals and the replanting timelines. I think that's a very easy, moderate step that can be taken to alleviate a lot of the problems that people have brought up today. So final point, I guess I think this is also a great opportunity for us to broaden our horizons a little bit about the role of the Capital Environs District, the Capital Environs Commission, and the makeup of that commission. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that live in the Capital Environs District, so maybe we can add some statutes requiring residents to be on the commission or to be participating voting members of that body. Like we said, the plan from the 80s, the South Lawn right now, it's just grass, it's just green lawn grass. That there's a lot of water and resources and money that goes into that, but there's no natural native plants, there's no bushes, no flowers, no pollinator opportunities, no trails or walking paths. So I think there's a lot of ways for us to improve this and not just base everything that we're deciding on today off of a 50-year-old plan, which is the only reason that we're really having this conversation in the first place. So thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
Over here.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Isabel Kratville, Kratville, and I lived at 1517 South 15th Street, just a block away from Goodhue Boulevard. And I stopped living there as of last month, but I was living in that apartment for about 2 years. And out of all of my times renting at places, I would say that neighborhood was the most authentic, down-to-earth community I had met, and also a community of folks who struggle to have their needs met. I just have a question, and we can answer this by a raise of hands. Any of y'all, have lived on Goodhue Boulevard or within a block of Goodhue Boulevard? Beautiful. As well? Beautiful. Okay, yeah. So, the vibe of the community. Love to hear it. I think as someone who lived there for the past 2 years, I had experiences of constantly struggling with being able to maintain the heat or the cooling of my home, especially during the summer, and going outside to Goodhue and being able to be under the shade of those trees really helped, especially dealing within the last few months, being in my apartment with the AC as cold as it can be in the window unit on full blast, still experiencing 83, 84 degrees in my apartment, and being able to go out and be under the canopy of trees was extremely helpful. And I can't imagine how other folks would be enduring that if we didn't have that canopy to sort of retreat under during these really, really hot months, especially as they get hotter too. I also want to reiterate my support for like clear transparency and also more like, I don't know, forward information to the community of Goodhue Boulevard, because I was not aware of this happening until like today. And I know that there are neighbors in Goodhue Boulevard who also were not aware of this and weren't able to make it. And I think there could be a discussion of just ensuring that the community has more time ahead to be able to be present, and also that essentially we can do the staggered approach that was mentioned, where we take out the most dangerous trees and replace them, wait a few years, and then steadily improve the canopy. So that's just what I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Others, welcome.
Hello, my name is Grace Laughlin. I currently live on 920 D Street, but I'm a very recent former resident of 1424 F Street, directly next to Goodhue Boulevard. I'm just here to echo the sentiments that have been shared already, that a staggered approach would be much more effective and much more respectful of the concerns of our community, particularly the Goodhue Boulevard community. As a renter, I can certainly speak to the effectiveness and the importance of those large trees on energy costs. We did not have central AC, and without the large tree in front of our windows, there were several points in this summer in particular where I'm not really sure our house would have made it without that tree. Our window AC units, and I know it's not just our house, are often out of date and often struggling to already on their own. The importance of those trees cannot be overstated in protecting our community members and ensuring that people are safe and cool during the summer. I think that the public outreach has really fallen short, particularly this time around. I attended several meetings in August of 2024, and I feel like this time around community members were really not involved in a way that was respectful to how many people have lived here for so long, and the importance and tight-knit community that lives here and is clearly very concerned about the all-at-once removal of these trees. I think that removing all 29 by November would be catastrophic to the neighborhood, particularly come next summer. And I think that it would be much more beneficial to building public trust and building community trust to look at a more staggered approach for removal. As many people have already mentioned, it would be likely better for those younger trees to be kind of ushered in with older trees protecting. The abrupt removal of all of them would be, I think, harmful both to the new trees themselves and also would really damage the community trust that has already, I think our community has been pretty loud and vocal about how much concern we have for this all-at-once removal. So I just wanted to echo my support for a staggered approach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
And again, there's 2 microphones up here. If you're planning on speaking, feel free to make your way to the front too. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Anna Graff. I live at 1614 D Street. I think I'm going to echo a lot of the things that previous community members have stated, but I think something that I wanted to raise is just really the difference between a staggered approach versus the more immediate approach that's been had on like neighbors and residents' mental health. Trees just have a really big impact. You know, like there's lots of research showing that for people of a variety of ages, trees being in the area and having access to nature can improve their mental health. But I think especially as we consider how temperatures are rising, how much trees can help make urban areas more accessible to go outside. Trees have a really tangible difference on making it cooler and making it easier to go on walks. Trees on average will cool down an urban area about several degrees. And as temperatures continue to rise, that can really make a difference in terms of energy costs, but also people being able to go on walks. I've lived near Goodhue, about like 1 to 2 blocks away for the past 3 to 4 years. This is my first summer having a dog. And so I think it makes me really sad to imagine Goodhue Boulevard without all of these trees. And it also makes me concerned of like, where are we going to go on walks? Because because I have a very fluffy dog. He is very cute, and he gets really warm in the summers. And so just when we're out there, like we are constantly, like we'll be on one side of the street and then walk across the other side to where it's shadier. And so I just think that all these trees going down all at once and it being really open would make it a much less like aesthetic, but also a place where people can go on walks, which I see so many people. I think one of the things I really love about living in the near south area is how many people are out on the streets and how people are enjoying, and there's lots of like families. And so I just think that if there's a more staggered approach and it can stay a little bit cooler and a little bit more shaded, that could have a really big impact and a really big beneficial benefit on the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to comment? If so, please come forward now. Welcome.
Thank you. So you want name, right?
Yeah, name and address first. And
Okay.
Then, yeah,
It's
comments.
Lisa Schmidt, and I live at 1515 South 22nd Street. So I've lived in the near south for 37 years, and I'm a little bit confused as to, I understand this is a capital environs, but the trees to me on Goodhue are a good representation of the trees in all of the near south. So if we're concerned about the trees in Goodhue, what about the rest of the near south? And is the approach, the plan that they have for Goodhue, something that is feasible to do throughout the near south? And how would that go over? Let's all imagine that. And I hope, and I'm thinking probably you have, that each one of you has driven down Goodhue several times in this past month. I have, since I heard this on Friday. I've probably made 10 trips down just to make sure I'm thinking clearly about this. I see trees, yes, that need help, maybe need to come down, need to come down. But I see trees that are incredible, beautiful. They look healthy to me. No, I'm not an arborist. Maybe there are issues. But man, those trees weathered, we all know the storms last August and this August. They made it through those. So I don't understand this drastic approach, all or nothing. Nobody's going to be against planting new trees. But the fact that we have to take down 29 just like that, it's very disturbing to me, as you can tell by my shaky voice. I'm really upset about this. And I didn't have time to plan. And I wish I would have, but I talked to several people since Friday that live in the near south because I'm there and I have a business there too. They didn't know about this, and they didn't have time to come down here. So I agree with them. It's not even just the people on Goodhue. It's other people in the near south, that there was not enough public outreach. Not enough public outreach, and it does seem like, why do we have to do all or nothing? Can't we do that phased approach? Let's see what happens. Take a few trees out and go from there. So that's my biggest concern, is that I think there's going to be ramifications within that community if we act this fast. I don't understand what the big drawback would be to just take it back a few steps and go a little bit slower at this. Now, somebody made some comment that they said it was going to be more expensive to do it that way. I don't know, I can't answer to that. But it doesn't seem like the best way for the community to be so drastic. And I'm going to scan my notes really quick here because I was scribbling a lot. But yes, the biggest thing was, I think it should be this phased approach. I think there should have been more community outreach. I don't understand what's different about the trees on Goodhue as opposed to near south. Those things are my big items that I was coming up with. And I do think, I mean, everybody that I talked to was like, you're kidding me. They're going to cut down. And I want to see the 29 trees. I saw trees there along Goodhue that had, you know, they write the red numbers on them. And no, maybe they had some of that bubbling, they say is going to be a cause of root rot. Looks pretty strong to me, but they looked healthy. from my eyes. So I saw a lot. Yeah, that's the gist of what I wanted to say. I just think it should be phased. I think there should be more community outreach. I think there are going to be ramifications here that people didn't see. Have they ever, that's the other thing, have they ever done this before? Such a big project like this, 29 trees in one neighborhood on 6 blocks? Like somebody was saying, that's 5 trees a block? They have? I didn't realize that. Did it go well?
During the rebuttal, I'll ask the director about that.
Okay, thank you. And the other point I wanted to make is the Near South is known for their old houses and their old trees. It sort of goes hand in hand. I just don't understand why we're being so drastic here. Thank you for your time.
Welcome.
Wrong microphone.
If there aren't enough there, I have more.
Give me the whole stack, yeah.
My name is Mary Roseberry Brown, MaryRoseberry-Brown. I live at 1423 F Street. I walk Goodhue twice a day and own property there. Okay, as we know, the proposed plan before you has 2 parts. One is the planting of trees along Goodhue, the first one, and I highly commend the Parks and Rec Department and the Mayor's office for providing for this replanting. And I do want to just put in a plug for that. In the city of Paris, in the face of global warming and the recognizing that trees significantly lower the temperature, they planted, this last winter, they planted 15,000 trees. They're tearing up the center lanes of the streets. They're tearing up the side places where cars park, and they're planting trees, and that's just the beginning of their tree planting program. The city of Des Moines has planned for 42,000 trees to be planted, and they're beginning to institute this in the face of global warming. So I'm glad Lincoln is beginning to pioneer that, and I do commend the Mayor's office and the Parks and Rec for doing that. However, now the second part of the proposal, I think we're going the wrong direction because we're cutting down 29 trees, that clear cutting, and that seems to be going the wrong direction. If you travel up Goodhue from A Street going north, you'll see many trees that should have been cut down long ago. They're dead and dying, and why they weren't cut down, I don't know. But mixed in with those trees are many trees that are healthy, they're providing shade, and they're beautiful. So why clear cut everything down? That's been said by other people. If you begin to examine the tree assessments that were made, and you look at the trees that were classified by the city even as low risk, I'm going to read some of those reasons. Now, I do want to say everything I'm going to say, I did run by a urban forest degree person, certified International Society of Arborvitae certified authority, and I did run through by him everything I'm going to be saying. One of the reasons I'm reading the criticism of low-risk trees. Okay, 847 Goodhue has dead and missing bark. If you examine it, it's mower damage, and trees self-heal from mower damage. There's no evidence of any decay. That's not a reason to cut a tree down. Tip dieback and cupping of leaves. Okay, that's another reason to cut it down? No, that just means the tree is either has caterpillars on it or maybe herbicide drift from the herbicides on Goodhue, or maybe lack of water. It doesn't mean it's cut down. It's perfectly healthy. And it says significant rapid change in the canopy. Well, I have...
It'll come up here in just a second. There it goes. Oh, yeah. There we go.
I have a picture of the tree. The one on this side, you can see, was taken last fall with the yellow fall foliage in the background. The other one is taken on the right, was taken today. I wouldn't say there's significant dieback in the canopy, so I would call that a questionable reason. If you go on down to other low-risk trees, one is listed as chlorosis. This condition is from low iron absorption. The trees do not die from it, and it can be remedied by mulching and thereby changing the soil pH and causing more iron uptake. As has been done around the governor's mansion, I noticed those are maintained by the state of Nebraska. They did have chlorosis, and now they just look magnificent. So we know that can be remedied. It's not a reason to cut trees down, and that's listed many times on the tree assessments up and down Goodhue. Roots lifting curb on one of them. If you look at that tree, it's hardly imperceptible. The curb is, and the tree is full grown, so it's not going to keep growing more and more lifting up. It's already reached its full grown. That's not a reason to cut a tree down, I don't think. Okay, decay in roots. Again, that's questionable because the certified forest degreed, urban forest degreed person didn't see decay. And I do want to say that the city of Lincoln does not have a urban forest degreed person on its staff, and we need that. And we need somebody who is degreed and has more background making these assessments. Anyway, also another reason given for cutting the trees down was hypoxyl and canker forests throughout the Lincoln area. Okay, this can kill a tree, but it starts in the trunk. It starts in the limb. It moves very slowly. If the limb is pruned, then it stops. But the trees along Goodhue have not been pruned for many, many years. But that's not a reason to cut the tree down if the trees can be pruned. Okay, I have a proposal that the city council make 2 amendments.
If you want to, that's 5 minutes. If you want to wrap up quick,
Okay.
I'll allow
The
that.
amendment that I request is one, that the city approve and encourage the revised tree planting program. 2, that they have a non-local, unbiased, professionally degreed person assess the trees and postpone any tree cutting until after that decision is made. I think it would be cheaper in the long run rather than cutting trees down. And the planting program should only be in the places where there are empty spaces. Postpone that until after we get an outside opinion. This would restore public trust. A lot of public trust has been lost by making bogus claims about these trees. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there others who wish to speak? If so, please come forward now.
Hello? Mackenzie Sheridan. I live at 920 D Street. I just, like a month ago, moved away from right next to the Noriana building, so 14th and F, Goodhue, that corner there, right by the tree that everyone's been talking about. I don't know if you're all familiar with the squirrels on campus. On UNL campus, there is a squirrel club. They are very friendly squirrels. They come up to people. They're cherished by the campus community, and working on UNL campus and then also living in the near south neighborhood, those squirrels are basically the same. I fed a lot of them, like right out of my hands. They would come up to me. They would eat an apple like out of my hand. I don't know. They were just the most friendly little critters. And I think without a staggered approach, I fear for what will happen to them. I don't have any degrees in ecology or any environmental background, but I just think a staggered approach would allow them to find a new habitat and find somewhere else to go. I don't know if like all of those trees all at once, there are a lot of squirrels in that neighborhood, among other things, raccoons. And I do think the people and the impact on the people of the community is like the most important thing. But I do think worrying about the critters of our neighborhood is also important. I'm lucky I was able to make it here. I also didn't hear anything about this until I spotted a flyer at the coffee shop this morning. So I think better public outreach and a staggered approach definitely needs to be considered. Thank you.
Welcome.
My name is Sophia Erickson, and I live on 843 Goodhue Boulevard. I don't have a lot of new information to add. I just would like to say that clearly not a single person who lives in this neighborhood is in support of cutting down all 30 at the same time. One of the benefits of that neighborhood is that it's one of the cheaper areas you can live in. So it seems kind of telling to me that the trees haven't been cared for the last 30 years. It seems kind of targeted towards a poor neighborhood, and I understand that there are issues now. One of the benefits of living in that neighborhood is being able to walk places, because a lot of people in that neighborhood might not be able to afford a car. My car itself is not running super well, and if all of these trees are cut down, it will significantly hurt my ability to be able to walk places, and there are quite a few unhoused people in the neighborhood as well. So I think all 30 at the same time will do a lot of damage to the neighborhood.
Great. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, members of the council. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here today. My name is Allie Christensen, and I live at 901 D Street. I'm a renter, and I've lived there for the past 4.5 years. And since I moved in, we've lost at least three, maybe 4 trees on that block, on D Street between 9th and 10th. And I know just from living there that when the tree that was right outside my home was cut down, it was a huge tree over on the corner of 9th and D. My AC bills went up. I'm a renter, and a lot of renters, especially in Aberdeen South, have window AC units. And I just want to bring some information that I think is really relevant about our renters' rights. So in Lincoln, our municipal code does not say that air conditioning is an essential utility. So if it's not in your lease, your landlord doesn't have to fix it. That's really relevant for residents on Goodhue Boulevard and in our neighborhoods in general. So if they have window ACs, they have some absentee landlords. I know a lot of you have heard stories about our neighbors' housing experiences, and when we're talking about the loss of tree canopy and shade, our renters' rights are tied in with that. And so I'm concerned that with the sudden loss of tree canopy and shade, it's going to get a lot less healthy to live. And I know that all of you believe that we all deserve to live healthy lives and to be able to thrive in our homes, whether we're a renter or a homeowner, whether we have low income or not. And so I just want you to take that into consideration when reviewing this opportunity. And so for that reason and others that many have shared before me, I would urge you to vote no on this so that we can make this plan better, so that we can make some adjustments, have staged removal, remove the highest risk trees, replant, and then have continued care of the tree canopy. Our neighbors on Goodhue Boulevard in Aberdeen South really deserve that care from our city. And I think that by voting no today, it's not a no to progress, right? It's not a no to removing dangerous trees. You just start our last opportunity to make this plan better so that residents can be engaged with more equitably, so that we can prioritize the removal of the highest risk trees, and to ensure that the trees that are replanted are able to be tended to by the folks who live there. And so, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you vote no today so that we can say yes to a better tree canopy and more life-supporting shade for residents. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Allie.
Good evening. I'm Adam Hintz, 1919 Prospect Street, speaking on my own behalf. Just want to acknowledge how beautiful it is for a community to come out in defense of trees. Mary Roseberry Brown is the person that taught me a lot about the sacredness of trees, and so it's wonderful to hear her speak, and all these other community members. Graham Herbst, have huge respect for him and his opinion. So I know you guys love trees. Trees are not just decoration, they're also our neighbors. And making sure that we take care of them as they go through their life is just as important. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is William J. Wood. I live at 808 D Street in Lincoln, Nebraska. My wife, Myrna, and I own 142 feet along Goodhue Boulevard, the Noriana and the Rianza apartment buildings. I'm concerned about the process that went on in the issuance of this certificate of compliance. We thought after the other meetings we had, especially at the school on Goodhue, that we would get some opportunity to work with the city or notice when this was going to happen. The only reason I'm aware of it is a renter saw an agenda for the commission. So I don't think people in the neighborhood were given an opportunity really to speak out. I would agree with Mary Roseberry Brown that we need to have a neutral, licensed and certified, degreed arborist take a look at these trees. Our building is next to the tree that Stacy Asher talked about. It's a beautiful tree. I've walked on the sidewalk there under those trees for upwards of 70 years, and I know some of them would have at least another 10 years of life left. We seem to get different opinions over the years. At one time, 12 years ago, squirrel chew was going to kill the tree within 2 years. Well, the tree survived squirrel chew, and now we're having all these other issues, most of which Mary described can be treated, if not cured, can prolong the life of the tree. I would second what some others have said here in that why are we picking on these 29 trees along Goodhue? There are many trees in the older neighborhoods that are as bad, many worse. There are trees that have been dead for 3 years that the city hasn't removed. It seems peculiar that we're concentrating on these trees. I think we need to look at the actual factors behind this. It's actually the commission wants to open up the view on Goodhue, and they don't care about sacrificing the trees. I think that that's about what I have to say. There has been some talk about hollow trees and need to take them down. Not all hollow trees are dangerous. They have to be assessed individually by an arborist. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Are there others that would like to comment? Please come forward. Welcome.
Hi there, Jessica Gisicki, 1200 South 20th Street. I am here today as a member of the community, but I should also mention that I am a member of the Community Forestry Board of Advisors. And what I have to say next, I am not here to speak for my advisory board or to share any opinion that we have as advisory board members on this issue. But I wanted to step up and testify. I feel like we're probably getting to the tail end of testimony here. And so I just wanted to talk about my role as an advisory board member in meetings has always been to push for very, very good community engagement. And I push the importance of that at pretty much every single meeting that I attend. I'm a tree lover, I'm a tree planter. I'm not a board certified master arborist, and that's okay. You don't actually need to be a master arborist to walk down Goodhue and see that there are trees with issues, and there are trees that probably still have some life left in them. As to the point about the community engagement, clearly we have a lot of residents that have shown up here tonight. I'm seeing a few familiar faces, but most of these people are not people that I have had the opportunity to engage with. And I feel as a resident of the Near South, it is, and somebody who spends an awful lot of time in the Goodhue community, it is actually my job as a community forestry board, advisory board member to make sure that I bring to those meetings what I hear from my community. I feel like it's my job to represent the urban community. And we're talking about a neighborhood that has a population density of nearly 12,000 people per square mile. And I understand that in one way we can look at that as, there are just that many residents that might be impacted by falling limbs. But another way we can look at that is that many residents that, really we should be investing in more equitable care of our aging canopy. We have a Near South resident that stepped up and said, is this going to be, what we experience throughout the rest of the Near South? And I think that's a valid concern. If this can happen on Goodhue, this can happen anywhere in Lincoln. And I think the most equitable approach is to consider the community that is going to be significantly impacted by both removals and by planting. I appreciate the idea of a staged approach in planting. A couple people have brought that up, and I absolutely agree with that. As somebody who plants trees, part of what I do for a living, I do a lot of shadow planting. So that is definitely something I would advocate for. I am not going to speak to the condition of those trees because I'm not qualified to do that. But what I will say is that I do think that there are measures that we could take to mitigate risks. And I also know that community forestry does not need Capitol Environment's permission or City Council's permission to remove trees that are dangerous. Tom, you brought up infrastructure earlier. You brought up sidewalks. If we had any other infrastructure within the Goodhue area that became dangerous, we would address that issue immediately. If we had a lamppost that was suddenly electrified, we would not be seeking Capitol Environment's permission, whether it was one lamppost or whether it was all of the lampposts that needed to immediately, be taken out and replaced because they were suddenly dangerous. We would not be seeking their permission on that. We would be addressing that issue. So I think the removal, they are marked for removal, and I think that the city can remove those without anybody, permission here tonight, without Capitol Environment's permission. I think what we are talking about is a robust replanting plan, which while I think a robust replanting plan is great, I think that needs to be resident informed, and I think that we do need to do a better job with community engagement on this issue. That is something, you heard me speak here a couple weeks ago on a community engagement project that I have going on. I have had the opportunity to engage with residents in the Goodhue area, and people have so much more of a vision than just trees. In this document, guideline 25.4, maintain turf in island between curb and new sidewalk. When maintenance budget allows, convert turf to the island from G Street to the Capitol Square to perennials, grasses, and shrubs in large masses for high interest. I would consider that with your planting plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Welcome.
Hi, Council. Kendall Wires, 2443 South 19th. I am a certified arborist, track certified, and I can speak to the phased approach that's been suggested by many that is a very reasonable approach. Low risk trees should not be marked for removal. Yes, we are anticipating their continued decline, but the decline can happen over a 10 or 20 year period. So to give them a death sentence when they're still low risk is not really a reasonable approach. And my bigger concern is, of course, for the trees on the street, because obviously there are many residents that are very concerned about this. But if this precedent is set that a low-risk tree can be removed, even when it is not an immediate threat, then that means every pin oak in Lincoln is in the same state. So you could mark every pin oak for removal. And you could do the same with most trees in Lincoln, because most trees do have some flaws. Many are not fatal. Most are not fatal. So to set the precedent that a tree could be removed even if it's low risk is a dangerous one, in my opinion, because we have a hard enough time losing trees that are a high risk. I mean, there's enough of those, and to start removing low risk trees is, again, we're already going in a huge decline, and that just increases the rate of it. And I put in written testimony. I shared some photos, or a photo. There's a tree at 70th and Teton, right across from East High, completely dead tree. Bark is falling off of it. It's not marked for removal. If risk is truly the reasoning for removing these trees, the tree on 70th is a much higher priority. And again, the staged approach, which has been suggested by many, would allow for more attention to be focused on higher priority trees throughout the city and less on the trees that are still 90% green and might have a dead branch that can be pruned and can extend the life of that tree, extend the benefits provided to the neighbors. Any questions?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome.
My name is Mark Wilson. I live at 1812 D Street. I've been a resident of the Near South for 20 years. Both of my children have gone or are currently going to McPhee, so I've walked along Goodhue every morning when I take them to school for over a decade. You've heard from many residents of the Near South about their attachment to these trees. I share that attachment. And you heard from Director Stuckey Ross about what I think is a fantastic replanting plan. I'm delighted to hear about this. I think that in 30 years it will be gorgeous. Director Stuckey Ross related an aphorism about trees that is commonly stated, which is the best time to plant a tree is yesterday. Next best time to plant a tree is today. The version of that aphorism I had heard is that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. The reason I emphasize that is 20 years is a good estimate for how long it will take for this canopy to really provide the services, or at least a fraction of the services, that we currently have. I cannot comment, I'm not qualified to comment on the condition of these trees. I leave that to more qualified people. However, understand that if you vote to remove 29 trees all at once, you're really voting to blight Goodhue for about 10 years, even with a wonderful replanting plan that, again, I have every confidence will result in a beautiful Goodhue in the decades to come. I'd also emphasize that unless any of us have really terrific genetics, no one in this room will live to see a tree on Goodhue that's as old as the trees that are being proposed for removal. An 80 or 90-year-old tree is a uniquely valuable asset. And again, I cannot comment on the condition of these trees and the necessity for their removal, but these are the trees that deserve, I think, our greatest attention and our most focused effort for preservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Please come forward now. Is there anyone else who would like to comment? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, we'll proceed. Or excuse me, thank you. Thank you, Benny. Appreciate it. Staff, a checklist, yeah. Staff rebuttal questions.
First of all, just a couple of things. I really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. It's great to hear from people that love their neighborhood and love their community, and so kudos to you all. So please, I'm going to disagree with you, but please know that I do it respectfully. And one of the things I think I really would respectfully disagree with is the notion that somehow we're clear-cutting Goodhue. There's going to be 80 trees left along that stretch after we remove the 29. So I don't think it's accurate to compare it to that. Second of all, I think there's been some discussion about the health of trees. We need to make very clear, all 29 trees are unhealthy and are at stages that need them to be removed. The 3 low-risk trees all have the hypoxylin canker. The underlying fungus for that disease can be easily spread from tree to tree. So their existence also really puts in jeopardy other trees around it. We've heard a little bit tonight about the potential of phasing, and believe me, if we thought we could do that, we certainly would recommend that. But the challenge doesn't solve the liability issue that all of us have to deal with here. It is our arborists that have determined that these trees need to be removed for safety reasons. In the event the city was sued by an outside party because of damage that occurred because of those trees, they're not going to take the testimony of people from outside the city. They're going to ask, what did your city experts tell you, Lincoln, Nebraska, needed to happen with these trees? And the answer would be, we were told they needed to be come down. I want to emphasize again, as a result of that, we are on notice in terms of liability. Anything that happens with these 29 trees is coming straight out of the taxpayer's pocket. Maggie, what else did you want to
I think
reveal?
I just want to correct the number of trees. There are 83 trees on Goodhue. Taking down 29 of the trees means 54 will remain. Just
Oh, thank
to
you.
correct the record
I'm
on
sorry
that.
about that.
Questions, council?
I have a lot.
Okay. Councilman Show, why don't you begin?
Microphone would be a good place to start, yes. Thank you both for coming forward, and I'd like to also say thank everyone in the audience for coming and providing us with additional opportunities to discuss this issue. The things that I wrote down was, first on my list is, the neighbors felt like they were targeted as opposed to other places in our city. There are several references to other places. Big question, we talked about the ash borer many years ago, and I was given a number of how many city street trees there are. Do you have that number available? How many trees the city is responsible for citywide?
It's approximately 85,000 street trees and about another 40 to 45,000 trees in our parks and on our golf courses. That number does not include trees along our trails and also does not include the number of trees in Wilderness Park, since that's currently owned by the county.
How many pruning or trimming or tree crews does the city currently operate?
We currently have 5 crews that are out operating full time. We have 3 inspectors and our city forester.
On average, how many trees does the city cut down, remove, prune, or do something to? You know, compared to 29 that we're talking about in this.
I mean, we're touching thousands of trees every year. It really depends on what the work is. Of course, in the aftermath of a storm, most recently, we have about 1,500 individual trees that have been called in to our team. So that's just
citywide.
Citywide since the August 9th storm.
can you give us an idea what the average cost to remove a tree is?
We have unit price contracts in place that dictate what the cost is for removal. It totally depends on the conditions of the tree, how easily it is the contractor or our team can get equipment in there. DBH is the primary driver of that. And those are all publicly available through our website. It's a wide range, again, depending on the size and the condition of the tree.
2 budget questions. How much in your budget citywide to remove trees, and how much in your budget citywide to replace trees?
We have multiple CIPs that help take care of the topics that you brought up. We have street tree pruning, removal, and replanting all bundled together. And so it would change year to year how those dollars are allocated between all of those activities.
So I'm sorry, so you are doing pruning, replanting, and removal citywide all year long?
We're doing it when it's seasonally appropriate, but yes, I would say that is an all year role for our forestry team.
And so why are we talking about Goodhue now?
We have been watching Goodhue for years. Our team is well aware of the issues that came up, I think, most recently about 10 years ago. It was prior to my time with the department. But we have had our eyes on Goodhue and recognizing the decline that was happening. It was in August when the forestry team called me and said, we're at the place where we have defined their condition. It's time that we need to act.
And I'd only add to that, the number of claims is an indicator, too, of what exactly is happening here. It wasn't necessarily targeting an area as much as the number of claims coming from those trees that really moved some of the action.
Springboarding from Mr. Hoppy's statement, we have all seen a picture of a pickup truck on Goodhue that was recently underneath some falling limbs. On average, how much are we paying per claim when someone, do you have any general idea on that? I saw a pickup truck getting replaced with that, and I'm thinking that could range. Has anybody priced a new pickup truck lately?
I would likely lean on my city attorney colleague.
Okay, then I'll stop with this question. We'll come back to that. There was a conversation about getting permission from the Capitol Environments to do this. There was also a conversation about the city does it all over the city without permission. What makes this so different with Capitol Environments being involved?
And I will ask Director Carey to,
thank you.
who
Mr.
has
Carey, would you
appeared.
help me with that question? And Mr. Chair, I will stop talking after that.
You're fine, Benny. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for that question. It gets into a little bit of process as well. So what is before you tonight is an appeal of the action by the Capitol Environments Commission. The reason why this item went before the commission is the fact that when the determination was made, as Director Stuckey-Ross said last year, that the health of the trees, or 29 of the trees, had got to a point that action was needed. That type of change on Goodhue Boulevard rose to the level of needing a review by the Capitol Environments Commission. And the point about that is that this is a very special place in our community. The 4 radial streets that go out from the Capitol building, we have a long-standing tradition as well as requirements to be very careful with that area. And so there is especially important attention paid to this area for the long-term value that it provides, which is both the view of the Capitol as well as the beauty of the roadway itself. And part of that is the trees. And so I like to think that this is a discussion about a very important area, and we want to do the right thing. And so there a lot of work has gone into how do we best do something about the decaying health of these trees, and then come back with a replanting plan that befits this area, that raises it up even again for future generations. So the idea that we're removing 29 trees, but then coming back in with more than 100, and I think it's 130 replacements, speaks to the fact that we're really focused on the value of this area of the city. And so we're before you tonight because that impact on that area was worthy of having a review and a certificate of appropriateness from the Cabot Environments Commission. And then that was appealed, and now that's in front of you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Curie. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Weber.
Thank you, Chair Carlson, Mr. Hoppy, Director Stuckey Ross. I have a few questions for you. So the first one I want to start, I'm just going to go down my list similar to Councilman Shope. In the presentation, it was mentioned that this is an act of last resort, right? I think we're all on the same page that we love and value our trees here in Lincoln. And then there was an individual who mentioned how, I think he said squirrel chew, right? That this was something that there were concerns about with trees, but they were able to be cured or treated. The trees that are up for removal here, even the 3 low-risk ones that have the hypoxy lawn canker, are these trees that can be cured? Are these trees that can be treated? I guess, can you elaborate on if this truly is an act of last resort?
You want me to take it?
Why don't you start?
Yeah, so I will say our team is telling me there is no cure, there is no way to remediate the hypoxylin canker. Once it's there, it's there. And so, no, there is no treatment, and this is where we are.
So even the 3 quote unquote low risk ones have that, it can spread, and it cannot be cured from that, is the understanding that our city team has of those trees. Okay, thank you. Speaking of city team, right, there was some discussion about licensures, what we need. Mr. Hoppy touched on it, that, you know, when it comes to the legal proceedings, that there's an impact there. Director, can you speak roughly to the level of expertise that our city team has in making these determinations?
Yeah, all of the inspectors that we have are track qualified inspectors. They are certified arborists through ISA. They take part regularly in the Municipal Forestry Institute. All of them have experience that is long-standing in the urban forest. Assistant City Forester Gruber has worked in other municipalities as well. I have no question about their qualifications to do the work that we've hired them to do. They have been hired to meet essential job responsibilities that include taking care of trees. They've met those qualifications, and I trust their judgment.
Thank you. And then Mr. Hoppy, I want to go back to I feel like there was a lot of conversation about phasing them out, staggering. I want to confirm that the response is that a hurdle for that is that we are in this window of legal liability, right? That the city is on notice, and as a result of having that notice, exposing ourselves to potential liability, that staggering or a phased out approach is not as realistic or preferable to the city. Is that accurate?
Yes, it increases our liability and our risk. The longer the trees stay up, the more likely something can happen that'll lead to a claim the city will be responsible for. And we won't have a defense if we knew that that tree was scheduled for removal or recommended for removal.
Perfect. And then I just have a few more two more. Director Stuckey, Ross, there was conversation about we shouldn't be going after these trees. We need to be going after the worst 29 trees out there. Can you elaborate on what the city is doing to identify the worst 29 trees? And, you know, is this an either or situation? Is this, you know, a multi-pronged approach? I guess, can you speak to that?
Sure. So we are a responsive-based department. We are responding to inquiries and reports that are given to us by the community, and we are addressing those oldest to newest, and also by priority level. So anytime someone in the community sees a tree that they have concerns about, I heard from Councilor Duden last week or a couple weeks ago about a tree, we ask that you let us know, because 85,000 street trees, there's no way for us to know everything that's happening to every tree at all times. And so we are reliant on our residents and our city partners to let us know what's going on, put those into Uplink, geolocate where you are, send us some photos, we'll get an inspector out there and address it. And so I don't doubt that there are trees in this community that need to come down that are not marked for removal. I completely agree. We are a staff of 24. We have 5 teams, and we have a really hard working division that's doing their best with the resources we have.
And then my last question is just, obviously there was a lot of testimony about the community engagement in this entire process. I think that there's definitely been, at nothing else, a learning opportunity of how we can proceed going forward. And if this were to pass and we were to implement this replanting plan, what community engagement has there been so far? And is there, future opportunities to have a community conversation, to have resident-informed dialogue? I guess, what does that look like if we were to move forward with the replanting plan?
Do you want to take that one?
You start.
We have had the opportunity to have several conversations with the Near South Neighborhood Association. We had public meetings last fall. We've had public meetings this spring. Capital Environs Commission was a public meeting. Obviously, we're here before you as well. We have adapted the plan since last fall because of the feedback we received. It was more trees. It was more diverse trees. It was look beyond Goodhue. We have a lot of needs on our feeder streets. So is there room for improvement? There's always room for improvement. And I think all of my department peers would say the same thing. We can always do better. And we are trying with the resources that we have available. Moving forward, we will be taking care of these trees for the first 4 years, but 4 years is going to go pretty fast. And we're going to need the neighborhood to adopt these trees and help us get past the 4 years mark. So I would say there will be opportunity and there will be a need for additional resident engagement. What that looks like with this particular planting plan, I don't think we've identified that, but I would say I'm in the meetings that Jess talked about where forestry has a unique opportunity to engage with the community, and I hope that we can continue to raise the bar with every project and do more and be better. That's what we all want.
This has been a topic of conversation for a year.
Yeah.
We've examined the trees twice. We feel like, yes, we can always improve, but we think the time frame that has gone on here demonstrates the city has bent over backwards to try to accommodate public input and public concern. I also wanted to take just a moment on your time, Counselor. In the battle of the number of trees that will remain on Goodhue after the 29 are removed, we have a bunch of people apparently in the back counting on a map. Actually, the broken clock that is your chief of staff was apparently right for the second time today. There will be 83 remaining trees after we take down the 29, but in the director's defense, we have been getting some dueling information here.
Already.
Probably some volunteer trees have popped up.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. Thank you, Director. Appreciate it.
Councilman Washington.
Wait, I'll give Mr. Duden. We'll just go right down the
Well, the first thing I was going to say is, if I recall the last budget cycle, Councilman Washington actually added to the supply of trees for the city of Lincoln. So I think this body here has been conscious of trees in Lincoln. I know I've been very conscious of it. I watched Helen Bosalis rip up downtown Lincoln and plant all kinds of trees, and they're all rotting, have the ash borer disease, and are going to have to be removed. So that's another project that will be coming up where we're going to need some replacement trees and what have you in the downtown corridor. This particular area is kind of a sacred area, there's no doubt about it. I think there's people in the audience that you're never going to change your mind about the 29 trees that are there. I think that's kind of an obvious thing that we can see. I don't think how many meetings you have to attend. I don't think that's going to change. But at the same time, I think you're getting almost a 3 to 4 to 1 replacement on the trees that are there. And yes, it will take time, but boy, it's going to expose the properties. I would hope that landlords would take more pride in the properties that they own and do some improvements. And maybe it's improving the air conditioners. And I think there's a couple of programs to supply air conditioners to people that rent. And I would suggest that you try to take advantage to some of those programs. But I think this is really going to beautify the area. I like the blending idea of different types of trees in the area, different sizes, different age groups, so that they can all kind of come up together. And I think you'll see this huge improvement to the appearance. I think somebody talked about, image is everything, and I think that's very true for this particular area, that you're going to be really blessed with a kind of a nice, clean looking area. And yes, it'll take a while for some of these trees to give you the canopy effect that you lost, but you're losing it anyway. And some of these trees have caused some horrific damage. This council has listened to claims on tree damage in this town, and we have taken a beating the last couple of years, and before that it's been the drought has affected the trees and the wellness of the trees. So this will be kind of a rebirth of the Goodhue area, and I think it's really going to look nice when it's all said and done. So I appreciate the work that Maggie Ross has done on this particular project, and Rich at the same time. And this council is really embedded in trying to make Lincoln look good and feel good for everybody that lives in the city. And I think that's what you should take away from this. I appreciate the public engagement and the comments. I don't see how staggering is going to improve anything, because number one, you're going to have 4 years of the people there that are going to prune the trees, help the trees, look after them, and there's a cost savings to doing that. There's a cost savings to when you start removing trees and you've got the equipment there. It doesn't make sense to come back next year, and then at the same time, when you're dropping trees, there's a good chance that you're going to clip one that's a brand new tree and break it, and you're going to have to replant it, that sort of thing. So it just seems to be smart to do things really all at the same time, especially with the analysis of the trees. And yeah, there's always going to be debate on whether those trees are healthy or not. But what looks healthy may not be the same on the inside, and I think that's a kind of a key here as well. So, but I appreciate what we heard tonight from everybody.
Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. Director.
Yes.
First, there was a lot of testimony here from people who feel passionately about trees, not just Goodhue trees, but trees in general, and I share their passion. I thank you for remembering that I'm tree supportive, and I intend to be tree supportive the next budget cycle as well. That's a preamble so that you'll support me when I bring. Okay.
I'll come up with something else.
Okay. Thank you. But I just wanted to just drop in a little bit on some of the questions that folks have asked, or the assumptions I think folks have made. So we've talked a lot about the proposals came forward phased or all at once, and the staggering. And I guess I have a question about some staggering, because I do think that a multi-aged canopy and multi-story canopy is really important if we're going to have a really healthy tree canopy going forward. I appreciate that some trees do like to grow in the shadow of others, and some trees actually love clear sunshine and like having the space. Recognizing there still is a relationship between different species of trees and things like that. I'm not going to get way out into the weeds here, but is there a chance that the trees on Goodhue, the blocks, could be staggered in their planting a little bit so that we get a greater diversity of age? Because I think what we're seeing with the pin oaks along Goodhue and in other places where we have pin oaks lining blocks, and we know what we're talking about when I say that. We have trees all growing up at the same age, at the same rate, and they're all aging at exactly the same rate, and so they're all going to be removed or die within 5 or 10 years of each other, leaving big gaps. And so I am really interested in making certain that when you go forward with the replanting plan, that it is staggered in age, gaps closer to 3 years between, so that, along or within, so that we don't end up in the same situation. And I think the tree species, I love the species list, but I think the tree species and how you actually arrange those within the blocks makes a difference in how we get what we're all looking for. But is there room for staggering in the planting?
So a couple things I'll share. 1.5 to 3 inch DBH is the range that our team is looking at. I was able to get that answer. So that's part of the diversity in age that you're looking for. We're also estimating somewhere between 80 and 90% survival rate on these trees. They will all have a warranty, so they'll all be replaced, but we can assume that there will be some age diversity as we are having to replace some of these trees that don't make it. I will point out that the most common reason a tree does not make it, a new street tree doesn't make it in Lincoln, is because of vandalism. And so that's something that our contract team will be looking out for as well. As soon as there's damage or vandalism to a tree, that would be replaced. So those would be the two ways that staggering would be happening through the plan as it's proposed. But I think we're pretty committed to getting these trees in the ground as quickly as possible so that we can start establishing that canopy. Any delay is just going to delay that ultimate goal that we're going for. I don't know if Rick has anything else.
I only add, Counselor, I don't feel like that's what we've said to the community. I feel like we have said that we would move forward on the replanting without staggering over a period of years.
Yeah, I was thinking more along Goodhue than along the side streets. I'm just thinking of, in some of those blocks, I just want to make certain that we have that multi-canopy, but I hadn't taken into consideration an 80% survival. So you're right, if we lose a tree in year 3, we're going to replace it, and that will stagger the age of that. People ask questions about pruning cycles, and I know that the pruning cycle has lengthened. Will these trees be in a pruning cycle? Once they're planted, they'll be cared for 4 years, I know, but they'll be in a pruning cycle of how many years approximately?
Right now, our budgeted goal with the administration is a 15-year cycle, maintain a 15-year cycle. We are currently not meeting that goal, to be very upfront. I believe it's closer to 25 at this point. We need to do better. We are experiencing quite a bit of challenge getting that down just because of the nature of the climate here in Nebraska. We're responding to a lot more storms that are taking us off of the to-do list for a significant amount of time. It was several months after the July storm that we were dealing with new work orders that, had that storm not happened, we would have been cutting back on that pruning cycle. But the goal is 15 years. It should be less than that, but that's what we're aiming for. And as we enter the next budget season, I think we should be talking about that and what sort of resources can help us get closer to that. We certainly want to do that.
I appreciate hearing that, and I'm going to want to have those conversations with you about what's necessary to get us there. A lot of the comments had to do with the process of community engagement and what happened in the last year from August to now, last August. And I agree. I don't want perfection to be the goal. I want improvement to be the goal in process. And I guess I'd like to acknowledge that when I first heard about this last August, there was a plan in place that didn't include replanting, and that those public meetings that were held with the neighborhood association at the elementary school and even the Capitol Environs hearing that was last year did make changes to this plan. So community input made changes, made positive changes to this plan. So there were things that have happened because of community input, and we can always harp on process, but if we're going to get better, we just have to give ourselves a little bit of time to get better. And we got better throughout this planning process, and I expect that we're going to get better going forward in our engagement with the public. I want to tell the folks, like, I appreciate somebody asked the question if any of us had ever lived in the Near South neighborhood. And I hesitated to raise my hand, not because I was ashamed. I loved where I lived in the Near South neighborhood. Thank you. My address came up in your slideshow. Really appreciate that. So I'm going to go hug that tree like one more time. But we don't have to live in the neighborhood to care about what's happening in a neighborhood. You know, I live in one neighborhood, but I do care about what's happening across the city. And so I didn't really want that to be the marker of whether or not anyone thought we were getting them. But I do recognize that renters have a different relationship in neighborhoods than property owners. Mr. Wood, thank you for coming forward. You were one of just a couple of property owners, and Ms. Roseberry Brown came forward. And I do think we should be paying attention to the heat and what's going to happen with people's utility bills, at least to be aware of that. We've had some warm summers of late, but I was working in Chicago the summer that 800 people died from heat. And that was awful. And so I would hope that would never happen here, but I want us to be aware that when we do take down shade, that people's bills will go up and it'll be hotter and less comfortable. But I might argue that we're not intending to blight a neighborhood, and I only repeat that word because blight has meaning when we talk about city planning and urban development and when we blight something, and I'm not sure that that's what the intention is. So I wanted to get away from the word blight and just talk about the fact that we will be adding a little bit of a stress to this neighborhood, especially on these blocks, but it's not a clear cut, right? Just
not at all.
83 trees remain.
Correct.
And then trees come back. So I appreciate that, but let's think about how we improve the process going forward, because this is just a 7-block area, and there are many blocks and 85,000 other street trees that need to be cared for here in Lincoln.
And I had a couple questions on that too. Can you remind me, what does that process look like when you're holding these public meetings? Are you sending out postcards? Are you knocking on doors? Are you putting out signs? How does word get out to our neighbors to get them to a public meeting or to let them understand that something's happening in their neighborhood?
You want to go
I'm sorry.
or me to go?
Why don't you go?
This, as Director Carey said, this is a really unique situation because of the environs overlay with our work. And so this, we worked with our planning department colleagues on, I believe there were signs posted about the hearing or the plans for Goodhue. The yellow signs were posted. Typically in our work, public meetings are for park renovation projects, new trails going in. We want to get public feedback about a recreation program, or we'll be talking a lot about pools, I think, in our future. So our public meetings are typically announced through press releases and on our social media channels. Sometimes we're flyering, sometimes we're putting door hangers up, sometimes there's postcards. I will admit it is inconsistent, and I also completely recognize that there are segments of the population that don't get those notices, and I'm all ears on how we can improve that process. We relied heavily on the Near South Neighborhood Association with this, since this Goodhue and the surrounding streets are part of that neighborhood, and so we were working with that organization as well, recognizing not everybody's a member of their neighborhood association, and so there's some holes there that we certainly could do better on.
I'd only reiterate that there's been far more process with the taking down of these trees than has ever been in the history of our city, because of the 2 visits to the Capitol Environs Commission and to the council. Those have served as pieces of the notification as well. They've been on agendas, they've been advertised in a way that I can say has not happened with any other tree removals that I've ever been associated with.
And I appreciate that too. I think that's important. And a point to make, so thanks for saying that too. My other question on those 29 trees, are they rated at all from top to bottom, worst to best type of a situation, or is it a situation they all meet that standard and they need to be removed?
Okay. The rating for the trees are extreme, high, moderate, and low. Okay. There are 4 that were evaluated as extreme, 11 as high, 11 as moderate, and then we've discussed the 3 low.
Thank you. That's my questions. Other questions, council?
I guess I have one more question. Thank you. I guess on the 3 low, they're in close proximity to each other? Are they in close proximity? I'm thinking that they were on the north. I'm sorry. Were they like HG?
The Noriana tree that Miss Asher brought up and several spoke about, 1221 Goodhue is another low, and the final one is 1317 Goodhue. So
Okay, so they are spread out.
they're spread out.
Okay. I was just curious if there was a possibility of staggering those as well. But they all have the virus. I was thinking if they were close. Okay. And we allow parking adjacent to those trees?
I believe there are parking restrictions on the Noriana tree simply because it's on a corner, and so there is a no parking sign, I believe, on the Goodhue side. I couldn't speak to the 1221 or 1317. I gather there might be some no parking.
And the director brings up a really important point. That doesn't speak to the health of the tree. It speaks to the notion that there are targets, and that rating may have been different had it been an area where people parked or had some other activity.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for staff here? All right. I'm gonna, we've been at this for several hours now. I'm gonna go ahead and ask that we have a recess for 10 minutes, take a break. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. That was easy.
They're on it.
We'll go ahead and re-adjourn here.
Ending the public hearing and
We are ending the public hearing and moving forward with voting on resolutions, beginning with 5A.
Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for August 1st through August 14th of 2025, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second by Washington. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 5B is approving a contract between the City of Lincoln and You Selected Holdings, Inc., doing business as Intelligent Dispensing Solutions for harm reduction dispensing machines for Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, bid number 25-058, for a 5-year term, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Washington. Any discussion? Councilwoman Washington.
I just want to thank the Lincoln Lancaster Health Department for being so proactive and creative about making certain that residents in our communities who may not have access to these kinds of harm reduction machines are getting the resources they need to remain healthy.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 5C is approving the First Amendment to contract for operation of a Keno-type lottery between the city and EHPV Lottery Services LLC to allow digital on-premises Keno lottery tickets, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Washington. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 5D is appeal by Stacy Asher of Capital Environs Commission's Certificate of Appropriateness for UDR Record 25071, removal and replacement of street trees along Goodhue Boulevard and the adjacent side streets within the Nebraska Capital Environs District, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Washington. Discussion?
Yes. During the break, a couple of people approached and had one other question, and I would like to ask the director to come forward again. I really appreciate the detail with which people have reviewed all the materials, and in my review, I saw that there were plenty of, I guess, chronic attributes attributed to each of the trees. But I want to go back to the 3 low-risk trees for just one moment. So you had said that the hypoxin fungus was at each of the trees, but they didn't see evidence of, they didn't see that word,
Right.
the fungus, on those 3 reports. Could you just clarify how we know that that fungus is there, even if you haven't written it down?
Yeah, so all of the 3 low trees, so the Noriana tree, the 1221 Goodhue, and the 1319 Goodhue are all showing symptoms of the hypoxylin canker. And when you look at the first page, particularly in the tree defects and conditions affecting likelihood of failure, you will see those conditions are listed. It doesn't say the word hypoxylin canker, but we know based on the symptoms and the defects that they're seeing that it is there.
Okay. So could those symptoms be anything else?
Individually, those symptoms could be a lot of things, but when you look at them in total, they indicate hypoxylin canker.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's not on here.
Councilwoman Washington, Councilman Cho. Or did
You have more?
I'm sorry.
Then the other thing I wanted to just, it's not a question for the director, but just a discussion amongst us. This is really hard for me. This is an area of work I've had before, not as an arborist. But I really care about this a lot, and I know that a lot of people do as well. And I want to ask, I guess I want to add an encouragement without formally amending this. I want to add an encouragement that that there be real notice given to every household along the streets that are impacted when tree cutting happens. I would also encourage that when trees come down, that we cut the trees in log length. Because if there's any usable lumber within those trees, log length 16 foot is the most usable, and I'd like to find a way to reuse if there's any usable lumber there. And that there be a way for the community to be able to see the planting plan. I know that we've got an idea of what's going to happen. We've got the tree species, which is great, but not the details. And I think having the details will help elevate trust. And so those are things I'm going to ask for and encourage, but I'm not going to make a motion to do so. For those of you who don't, I have a regular relationship with Parks and Rec, and I'm going to trust that when I ask for something, that it's not unreasonable, and that steps are taken to do those things and allow for greater public involvement or review of the planting plan and real notice when trees come down. But I will be voting in favor of the tree plan in large, in writ.
Thank you. Tom, did you have your hand up? No. Okay. Councilman Shope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Boys and girls, I am excited about the replanting plan. I'm excited about the replanting plan. I hope this action will be a catalyst for replanting efforts across our city. This effort will cost money, dollars from a very tight city budget, a budget we will begin crafting again shortly for the 2-year cycle of 26-27. We will again discuss adding dollars to the budget in support of urban forest like we do every year. We talk about adding dollars. Please be aware that there are hundreds of competing interests by people who are equally passionate about things in our community. These are passionate residents, passionate groups, and not all their interests will be fully funded. Not all their interests will be fully met. There's a limited number of dollars and an unlimited amount of desires, projects, and community needs. These decisions are not made easy. We hand out an unbelievable number of no's to the community. We delay funding on things for years. A large number of good projects go unfunded and unrealized for long periods of time. I wish there was an unlimited amount of dollars, but they're not. We on the council are doing our best to balance the needs and address the needs of more than 300,000 people that live in our community. And we're doing the best we can with empathy and input from many sources. We're trying to listen to everybody, and if you're empathetic, you might understand that there are people in the community that disagree strongly with the positions that we take. I tell a story about running for re-election, and I got 49% of the vote. That means 51% of the people chose someone else for this job. Yet I represent all 300,000 of those people, and I need to consider everybody's needs every time. When I moved here from Kentucky, I lived at 1212 South 15th Street. Do anybody remember where that is? It's not 15th Street anymore, it's now Goodhue. And I sat in my apartment and I fed squirrels peanuts out of my hand, just like the young woman said. And I walked up and down the neighborhood, walked to campus through the Capitol every day and back. And I now live in the near south at 19th and B Street. So I live in this neighborhood. I see trees marked every day. I picked up limbs out of my yard, and I rent from the William Woods in the back. I'm a renter. And one of the people testifying here is my landlord. This is important to me. This is passionate for me. This is a little bit painful for me. But I also have to think about what's good for the long-term interest of our community. As one gentleman said, long after I'm gone, the gentleman Graham, we won't realize these tree growths, but we need to do that across the city. We need to be consistent, and we need to make sure we improve it for the next generation. That's why I'm taking the position I'm taking tonight. I think this is a step. It's not the best step, but it's a step in the right direction for the entire city. Thank you all for coming forward and helping me make that decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. This was a really difficult decision, and for me, too. Just hearing the testimony, seeing the activism, applaud you all for coming out, for taking a stand in your neighborhood. You have convinced me to vote no on this, too. I think you have a right to what happens in your neighborhood, and I'm totally supportive of that. And I can't stand here and vote against you with that, so you will have my vote on this, too. Other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson.
No.
Motion carried 4-1. That concludes section 5 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 6. I'll call item 6A, amending the 2024-26 City of Lincoln Biennium Budget for the City of Lincoln Operating Budget and Capital Improvement Program, and authorizing the municipal annual certification of program compliance form for the 1 and 6 year street and highway program as required by state law, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Weber. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to introduce a motion to amend Bill number 25R-341, introduced on August 11th, 2025, with the substitute resolution attached that all of my colleagues should have received. And the reason for this request is to I'll wait for a second. Thank you. Thank you for the second. Thank you for the reminder. And the reason for this amendment is to reflect the minor adjustments and final certified valuations from the county assessor.
Call roll. Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. And a call for the main motion.
And now for the main motion. We'll call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. I'll call item 6B, approving the transfer of unspent and unencumbered appropriations between certain capital improvement projects, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Schob. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. Item 6C is approving amendment number 2 to agreement for PCS Tower and appurtenances between the City of Lincoln, Nebraska and Celco Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless, to extend the term of the agreement, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Schob. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. That concludes section 6 of our agenda. Section 7 is resolutions, first readings, item 7A and 7B. Section 8 is our ordinances, first reading, and related resolutions are items 8A through 8F. And section 9 is our pending list, items 9A through 9C.
Right. Tonight is the last Monday of the month, or last meeting of the month. Anyone wishing to address the council on a matter that is not on this agenda and not planned to appear on a future agenda may do so at the open microphone session. Individuals are allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak, regardless of the number of topics. For the month of August, it's tonight, August 25th, 2025, is open mic. Is there anyone that would like to testify? Please come forward now. Welcome.
Thank you. I have just one thought for you. I was here last week. I made a pitch for more money for StarTran. Apparently, we're not going to get any more money. I would like to just simply say something that maybe I didn't say last week, and that is, we had during 2024 2,500,000 StarTran riders. 2,500,000. And I compared that with the number of fire calls that we had during 2024. I compared that with the number of police calls that we had. Considerably less in all those categories. So I guess we're done dealing here in terms of this year, but I certainly hope when I come back next year, as I will, that we're going to do something to get StarTran moving, because right now we're stalemated, folks. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment?
Council Chair.
Yes.
I'm not sure that I have ever responded at an open mic session, but I really want to address Mr. Schmeling. The budget, the mid-year or mid-course adjustment we just passed included $1 million for StarTran operations to make that budget whole. So we had a deficit, we needed to fill it, and we have. So we did not significantly increase and give them more than what they needed, but for this year, we added $1 million just now with our vote.
I understand
Okay.
that, and the problem is that all that does is it keeps us with flat funding, and we have no additional money to do any changes or enhancements.
That is true.
Yeah, but you're right.
It made it
wasn't
whole.
that you were ignoring the problem with StarTran.
The chair would entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Does Margaret want to come do public comment? No? Okay. I didn't know with her last meeting. Right?
I'm going to second the motion.
Motion second?
Yeah.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.